Chapter 221. The Competition. Noah felt his heart warm. "You're impossible." "Impossibly charming?" "I guess so," she suggested with an innocent expression that fooled absolutely no one. "Impossibly persistent," he corrected, though his tone lacked any real annoyance. "I prefer dedicated to my craft," Lola replied with mock dignity before breaking into genuine laughter at his expression. Noah glanced toward the two new premium item displays, noting they weren't fully stocked to 12 units since the 24-hour production cycle hadn't completed yet. However, 8 items sat ready on the shelf, enough for his immediate needs. "I need to take some inventory for personal use," Noah announced, reaching to take a single stock from each premium item available on the shelves. "Planning something special?" Lola asked with curiosity, her ruby eyes tracking his hands as he collected the enhancement items. "Not really. I just need to use the benefits and store some for emergencies," Noah replied as he stored the precious items in his dimensional storage ring. "Better to have them available when needed rather than wish I had them later." The collection included instant coffee, mystical herbal tea, protein bars, energy drinks, beef jerky, and rice cakes. A complete arsenal of temporary and permanent enhancements that could prove invaluable during unexpected challenges. Noah spent some pleasant time hanging out with both Lola and Leo, enjoying the simple companionship that had become such an important part of his life. The casual conversation and Leo's playful antics provided a refreshing contrast to the competitive tension building for the upcoming tournament. Before leaving, Noah decided to make productive use of the idle room's daily availability. It would be wasteful not to utilize such powerful training capabilities when they became accessible. After considering his options, Noah chose to invest all 4 available hours into his swordsmanship skill advancement. The logic was straightforward. He had a swordsmanship tournament beginning soon, making this the optimal time to push his blade techniques toward the next level. For hours into swordsmanship, Noah confirmed as he accessed the idle room interface. Level 10 to Level 11 advancement. The cost was substantial, $100,000 per hour at his current skill level, totaling $400,000 for the complete session. But with his enhanced financial resources, the investment felt justified for the potential competitive advantage. $400,000 deducted from account. After initiating the training program and watching his avatar begin intensive sword practice, Noah prepared to return to Earth. He didn't want to risk missing any sudden announcements or having fellow participants search for him during his absence. But as he prepared to step through the portal, a sudden question occurred to him about the time differential mechanics. The idle room would require 4 hours to complete its training cycle in the magical world, but given the 2-to-1 time ratio between dimensions, would the process only take 2 hours on Earth? "System," Noah asked mentally. "With the time differential, will the idle room training complete in 2 Earth hours rather than 4? Affirmative. Time differential applies to all system functions. For magical world hours equals 2 Earth hours. Noah nodded in understanding. Appearing back in his luxurious Japanese-style room, Noah checked his phone to confirm the schedule. Time had passed steadily during his interdimensional visit, and the appointed hour for gathering in the courtyard was approaching rapidly. He took a moment to ensure his appearance was appropriate for whatever orientation activities Yamamoto had planned, then made his way toward the door to join his fellow competitors in what promised to be the next phase of their tournament experience. The idle room training would complete its work while he participated in the evening's events, potentially providing enhanced capabilities just when he needed them most. Noah decided against immediately consuming the enhancement items he'd collected. There was no urgent need, and using them purely for the permanent attribute gains would waste their more valuable temporary effects. The increased comprehension speed and spiritual sight abilities were strategic advantages best saved for when they would provide maximum benefit during actual competition or training. Even with idle makers producing replacements, timing remained crucial for optimal effectiveness. Noah made his way through the resort's traditional corridors toward the designated meeting area, passing other participants who moved alongside him. Unlike Ichigo, they all looked like serious martial artists preparing for a significant competition. The courtyard are an impressive open space surrounded by traditional Japanese architecture, with carefully maintained gardens and stone pathways that created an atmosphere of tranquility. Paper lanterns hung from wooden posts, their soft glow beginning to illuminate the gathering dusk. As participants assembled in the courtyard, Noah took the opportunity to assess his competition. He counted carefully and discovered there were 16 contestants total, including himself. The number wasn't surprising. Gathering practitioners of sufficient skill level for a tournament of this caliber required extensive networking and reputation within the martial arts community. Most dojos might produce one exceptional student every decade or so, making 16 participants represent a significant achievement for the organizers. The assembled group displayed remarkable diversity in age, background, and apparent training philosophies. Some carried themselves with the confidence of traditional practitioners, while others showed the harder edges that came from competitive fighting experience. Yamamoto stepped forward to address the gathered competitors, his authoritative presence immediately commanding attention from the entire group. The conversations died away as everyone focused on the tournament organizers' instructions. The tournament will begin tomorrow morning at precisely 8 o'clock, Yamamoto announced with military precision. Any unwarranted fighting or hostile confrontation before that time will result in immediate disqualification from competition. His tone carried absolute authority, making it clear that this rule would be enforced without exception or appeal. I shouldn't have to say this to practitioners of your caliber, Yamamoto continued with slight disappointment in his voice. But unfortunately, it has happened before. Past tournaments have been disrupted by participants who couldn't control their competitive instincts. Several competitors exchanged glances, recognizing the wisdom of such a rule given the intensity that martial artists could bring to their rivalries. Chapter 222, Sparring. There will be 3 judges evaluating all matches, Yamamoto explained, gesturing toward a raised viewing area where the officials would observe the competitions. Their decisions are final and not subject to dispute or appeal. The judges' qualifications and experience would be announced before the first matches began, ensuring transparency about who would determine advancement through the tournament brackets. Beyond that single restriction about premature combat, I encourage you to enjoy yourselves during your stay here. Yamamoto's tone softened slightly into something approaching warmth. This facility offers many amenities designed for your comfort and preparation. Training between participants is allowed and even encouraged, as long as you avoid causing injuries to yourselves or others. He continued with practical wisdom. However, understand that anyone who becomes injured during voluntary training sessions faces the consequences entirely at their own risk. His expression grew stern again as he emphasized the personal responsibility aspect. If you choose to trust a fellow competitor during practice and sustain an injury that affects your tournament performance, no accommodations will be made. That responsibility falls entirely on your judgment. The warning carried clear implications about the competitive nature of their environment. While cooperation was permitted, participants needed to remember that everyone present was ultimately an opponent seeking the same prize. Are there any questions about these guidelines? Yamamoto asked, scanning the assembled group for any signs of confusion or concern. The courtyard remained silent as 16 practitioners absorbed the rules that would govern their conduct until the tournament's conclusion. Excellent. Dinner will be served in 1 hour. Use the remaining time to familiarize yourselves with the facilities and prepare for tomorrow's competition. After Yamamoto finished his speech, Ichigo immediately turned toward Noah with his enthusiastic smile spreading across his face. "Wanna spar?" Noah stared at him for a moment, processing the immediate invitation. Ichigo's chattiness and persistent friendliness had been endearing during their bus conversation, but now Noah found himself wondering about ulterior motives. Yamamoto's warning about past incidents made him more cautious about trusting fellow competitors too quickly. What if Ichigo's friendly demeanor was actually a calculated strategy to lower his guard before attempting to injure him before the tournament began? Although Noah felt confident he could handle any potential threat, he didn't want to feel like he'd been manipulated or played for a fool. Almost imperceptibly, Noah accessed his dimensional storage ring and withdrew the Eye of Apollo, golding the artifact discreetly within his jacket pocket. The legendary orb was compact enough to fit comfortably in his hand while remaining completely hidden from view. Noah activated the truth detection capabilities, feeling the magical energy flow through the artifact as it prepared to analyze any statements made within its area of influence. Deciding to test both the item's functionality and Ichigo's genuine intentions, Noah posed a half-joking question with casual delivery. "You aren't trying to injure me, are you?" Ichigo paused with a completely blank expression, as if the question had caught him completely off guard. His friendly demeanor flickered momentarily with confusion before returning to its normal rhythm. "Of course not. Why would I injure you? You're a nice guy, and I believe we could be good friends," Ichigo responded with obvious sincerity. His smile remained genuinely friendly, carrying none of the signs of manipulation Noah had been watching for. Suddenly, green text materialized in Noah's vision, appearing directly above Ichigo's head in glowing letters that only he could perceive. "Truthful." Noah blinked in surprise at the Eye of Apollo's immediate confirmation of Ichigo's honesty. The artifact had detected no deception, no hidden malice, no ulterior motives beyond simple friendship and competitive enthusiasm. The guy really was just incredibly friendly. Noah felt a mixture of relief and slight embarrassment at his paranoid suspicions. Ichigo's enthusiasm wasn't a calculated strategy. It was simply his natural personality, unchanged by the competitive environment surrounding them. "I was just joking," Noah said with a genuine smile, deactivating the Eye of Apollo and securing it back in his storage ring. "Although some people might probably do that." Ichigo nodded with understanding rather than offense. "Competition can make people do crazy things. But I promise my only goal is having some fun practice and maybe making a new friend before we have to face each other as opponents tomorrow." His openness and lack of defensiveness at Noah's suspicious question made Noah perceive him in a higher position than before. "All right," Noah agreed, his wariness dissolving into anticipation. "Let's find a practice area and see what you've got." The people around looked at them with interest, their expressions carrying subtle condescension masked as casual observation. Some participants had indeed formed small groups of 2 or 3, but these alliances consisted of practitioners who knew each other from previous encounters, tournaments, or masters. However, Ichigo and Noah had clearly met each other for the first time, yet somehow they were displaying mutual trust that made the more experienced competitors scoff internally. Naive newcomers, several participants thought with dismissive superiority. Participants who trusted each other so easily were always known to be eliminated first in serious competitions. The reasoning was simple. Such behavior indicated they were novices without real tournament experience, practitioners who hadn't been exposed to the harsh realities of competitive martial arts, where friendships could be weaponized. "They'll learn soon enough that niceness doesn't win tournaments," one scarred participant mused while watching the unlikely pair. Under the watchful gaze of other competitors, Noah and Ichigo made their way to one of the designated practice fields. The facility's attention to detail was evident in the quality equipment provided. Racks of both wooden and steel practice swords, all maintained in excellent condition. Ichigo approached the weapon selection with careful consideration before choosing a wooden practice sword, testing its weight and balance with experienced movements. "No need for steel swords," he commented cheerfully. "This is just light sparring anyway. No point risking unnecessary injuries before the real competition begins." Noah nodded in agreement, selecting his own wooden blade while noting the natural way Ichigo handled the weapon. Chapter 223. The Natural Hot Spring. Despite his chatty personality, the young man clearly possessed genuine martial training. "I'll match his pace and intensity," Noah decided silently. "No need to reveal too much since other participants are watching, and I just want to enjoy the moment." They moved to the center of the practice area, nodding respectfully to each other before settling into their opening stances. The gathered spectators positioned themselves at comfortable distances, some leaning against nearby structures, while others stood with crossed arms, all waiting to assess the skill levels of these apparently naive newcomers. Clack! Their wooden swords met in the first tentative exchange, neither fighter committing to full power as they tested each other's reflexes and defensive capabilities. Tap, tap, clack. Ichigo's technique was solid but conventional, classical kendo forms executed with competence. His movements showed years of dedicated training under traditional instruction, though nothing that would mark him as exceptional among this level of competition. Swish, clack. Noah responded with equally measured attacks, deliberately keeping his enhanced attributes and magical augmentation completely suppressed. He wanted to experience normal human-level sparring rather than overwhelming his sparring partner with his power. Clack, tap, swish. Their exchange continued with steady rhythm, both fighters clearly holding back significant power while focusing on technique and timing rather than decisive strikes. The observing participants initially watched with moderate interest, expecting to witness either impressive skill that would mark new threats or obvious weaknesses they could exploit in future matches. Instead, they saw precisely what they'd predicted: competent but unremarkable sparring between practitioners who seemed more interested in enjoying themselves than seriously preparing for competition. Tap, clack, swish. Nice form, Ichigo called out cheerfully between exchanges, genuinely appreciating Noah's defensive work. You too, Noah replied with equal warmth, finding himself relaxing into the friendly atmosphere despite the competitive environment surrounding them. Clack, tap, clack. After several minutes of observing what appeared to be casual, low-intensity practice, most spectators began losing interest. This wasn't the intense, revealing combat they'd hoped to witness. Nothing to see here, one veteran muttered, turning away from the sparring match. Just beginners playing around. Waste of time, agreed another, following his companion toward a different practice area where more serious training was occurring. Swish, clack, tap. The majority of observers gradually dispersed, returning to their own preparation routines or seeking more informative displays of skill from other participants. However, a few competitors remained, their eyes glinting with different recognition as they continued studying the supposedly casual sparring session. Clack, swish, tap. Another observer, a middle-aged man with numerous competition scars, noticed subtle details that escaped casual attention. The blonde one's technique is more refined than he's showing, and the other one, his positioning is almost too perfect. Tap, clack, swish. These perceptive watchers recognized that both fighters weren't so simple. Clack, tap, swish. After watching for several more minutes and noting the consistent level of restraint both fighters maintained, even these astute observers eventually departed. Whatever they're hiding will be revealed tomorrow, the scarred veteran decided. No point wasting more time on speculation. The man with calculating eyes gave them one final appraising look before following the others. Interesting. It will be fun to break him, he thought with a wide smirk on his face. Swish, clack, tap. Soon, Noah and Ichigo found themselves alone in the practice area, the last observers having concluded their surveillance and departed for other activities. Well, that was fun, Ichigo declared with satisfaction, lowering his wooden sword as they concluded their session. You're really good. I could tell you were holding back quite a bit. Noah smiled at his perceptive observation. Same to you. Your technique is more advanced than you were showing. Guilty as charged, Ichigo grinned sheepishly. No point showing everything before the real tournament begins, right? After concluding their sparring session, Noah and Ichigo decided to take advantage of one of the resort's most appealing amenities, the natural hot springs that had been seamlessly integrated into the traditional facility design. Perfect timing for the onsen, Ichigo declared with obvious enthusiasm as they made their way toward the bathing area. Nothing beats hot mineral water for muscle recovery after practice. The hot spring facility maintained authentic Japanese customs, requiring proper washing before entering the communal pools. Noah appreciated the attention to cultural detail as they followed the traditional preparation rituals. Steam rose from the naturally heated pools, creating an almost mystical atmosphere enhanced by carefully placed stones and traditional landscaping that made the indoor space feel like a secluded mountain retreat. As they settled into the perfectly heated mineral water, Noah felt his muscles immediately begin relaxing from the day's activities. The therapeutic properties of the natural spring provided genuine relief that went beyond simple warmth. However, their peaceful soaking was interrupted by the presence of another contestant already occupying a corner of the main pool. The man appeared to be in his early 30s, with pale skin that seemed almost translucent in the steamy environment. His black hair was slicked back wetly, and when he smiled at their entrance, it was too wide, lasting a fraction too long. "Ah, fellow competitors," the man said with pleasure, his voice carrying a smooth quality that somehow managed to sound both friendly and unsettling. "How delightful to share this wonderful facility with such dedicated swordsmen like yourselves." His movements through the water were unnaturally fluid, like a serpent gliding through its natural element. "I'm Ichigo. Nice to meet you." Ichigo responded with his usual openness, apparently unbothered by any subtle strangeness. "How wonderful," the pale man replied, his smile widening further. "You may call me Kenzo. Such a pleasure to encounter someone so refreshingly enthusiastic about tomorrow's competition." Noah decided not to engage with Kenzo, instead focusing on relaxing and enjoying the therapeutic benefits of the mineral-rich water. Something about the man's presence irked him. "Are you excited about tomorrow?" Ichigo asked Kenzo with genuine curiosity. Kenzo paused for a second before responding with that same unnaturally wide smile. "Oh, tremendously excited." Chapter 224. Kenzo. I find myself fascinated by the opportunity to observe different fighting styles up close. There's something so revealing about how a person moves when under pressure. His dark eyes seem to gleam. The way someone's technique adapts when facing true adversity. Kenzo continued, his voice taking on an almost hypnotic tone. How their form changes when they realize their usual methods are insufficient. It's quite mesmerizing, heh? Noah noticed how Kenzo's gaze lingered on both him and Ichigo with the intensity of someone cataloging specimens rather than conversing with fellow martial artists. I've always believed that fighting revealed the true nature of participants, Kenzo added with a philosophical tone. Strip away all pretenses, all social niceties, and what remains is pure. Ichigo nodded enthusiastically, apparently interpreting the comments as deep martial arts philosophy. That's so true. My sensei always says competition shows you who you really are. Ichigo agreed with eagerness. Precisely, and I find myself particularly curious about practitioners who, how should I put this? Forget it, you will find out soon. Kenzo smiled. His gaze lingered on the surrounding steam, as if it contained his thoughts. This makes tomorrow's revelations so much more delicious. Kenzo concluded with a soft laugh that carried undertones Noah definitely didn't like. The pale man's fingers moved through the water in patterns that seemed almost ritualistic, creating small currents that disturbed the otherwise peaceful surface of the hot spring. Have you competed in many tournaments? Ichigo asked, apparently determined to maintain friendly conversation despite any atmospheric oddness. Oh, several, Kenzo replied with that persistent smile. I find each one teaches me something new about human nature, about the beautiful ways people can change. The conversation continued with Ichigo's cheerful questions meeting Kenzo's philosophical responses, while Noah focused on enjoying the therapeutic mineral water and mentally preparing for whatever tomorrow's competition might reveal about their fellow participants. The hot spring's natural healing properties worked on his muscles. Eventually, Kenzo announced with regret, well, I should prepare for tomorrow's festivities. It was such a pleasure meeting you both. I look forward to our future interactions. Nearly 2 hours had passed since Noah had activated the idle room, which meant that the 4 hours of training in Esta's time had been completed. Just as he was relaxing in the hot spring, Noah received the notification he'd been anticipating. Your swordsmanship skill has reached level 11. Noah understood the implications behind the notification almost immediately, his mind processing the advancement with clarity that went beyond simple satisfaction over the level up. It had taken nearly 4 hours in Esta's time for the idle room to advance his skill by a single level. This represented a significant increase in training time compared to his previous advancement experiences. Based on his progression from novice to apprentice rank, Each level within a given tier typically required similar time investments. For example, advancing from level 5 to level 10 had taken approximately 2 hours per level in Estes time when using the Idle Room's enhanced training. Now, however, each level required 4 hours of Idle Room training, double the previous investment. This meant that reaching level 15 from his current level 11 would require 16 additional hours of expensive training time. Using only the Idle Room for advancement, it would take at least 4 more days to reach what he suspected might be the next major milestone in swordsmanship development. The system is scaling difficulty appropriately. Higher levels require double the effort. For now, at least, it might increase later on. Noah didn't complain about the increased requirements. The progression felt natural. True mastery should demand greater dedication than basic competency. With swordsmanship now being his focus for Idle Room investment, he decided to spend his personal training time developing other crucial skills like mana control and wind manipulation. Inside his room, confident that no sudden announcements would interrupt his otherworld activities, Noah stepped through the portal back to his shop. Lola was still behind the counter serving customers despite his repeated instructions about taking proper breaks. The dedicated succubus continued working relentlessly, and Noah felt genuinely guilty about her excessive commitment to the business. She's working harder than me and I own the shop. Before departing for the tournament, Noah had instructed Lola to sell the newly introduced mystical herbal tea and instant coffee at the same price as other premium items, 150 golden coins each. The pricing strategy would make the incredible enhancements accessible to Estes elite practitioners while generating substantial revenue. Noah wasn't looking for the short-term benefit of gold. He was looking to increase the strength of Estes practitioners. "How did the sales go?" Noah asked as he approached the counter. Lola's ruby eyes sparkled with satisfaction as she recounted the evening's remarkable success. Everyone was absolutely shocked when they learned about the new product's effects. The instant coffee's mental enhancement and the herbal tea's spiritual sight ability. They couldn't believe such items existed. Her expression softened with emotion as she continued. "They thanked you so deeply, Noah. Many said they would remember this generosity for generations to come. You've given them capabilities they never dreamed of possessing. The permanent enhancements are life-changing for people without access to magical advancement." Noah accessed his updated status to assess the full scope of the evening's commercial success. Host: Noah Carter. Age 28. Shop level 2. Daily revenue: $565,000, or equivalent. Current assets: $1,589,340. Shop points: 19,600. Attributes: Strength, 60. Vitality, 60. Intelligence, 60. Agility, 60. Skills: Swordsmanship, level 11. Mana control, level 10. Aura, level 10. Wind manipulation, level 10. Body tempering, level 10. Surviving on ramen, level 3. Cooking, level 3. Finance, level 3. Gaming, level 3. Programming, level 2. His assets had increased dramatically, nearly reaching the $1.6 million threshold. The shop points had climbed to almost 20,000. Incredible growth in just one evening of sales. "Break down the numbers for me," Noah requested, wanting to understand without having to look deeply into the numbers. Chapter 225. Farewell Party 1. Of course, I sold a total of 402 units from the common items, bread and iced tea combined. That generated 2,010 golden coins. Lola explained. So that's 4,020 shop points. The bread and tea continue to be steady income generators. Additionally, I sold 60 units of the premium items, ranging from protein bars all the way to the new herbal tea. That provided another 600 shop points and 9,000 golden coins total. 60 premium sales in one evening. That's extraordinary demand. The mathematics confirmed the impressive totals reflected in his status. The combination of high-volume common sales and substantial premium transactions had created a perfect revenue storm. The customers were particularly excited about the instant coffee and herbal tea, Lola explained with enthusiasm. Master-level practitioners who hadn't visited before due to seclusion came specifically for the new products, she added. Your reputation has spread far beyond our usual customer base. Everyone in the kingdom knows about the shop and its items. The evening's success represented more than just financial gain. It demonstrated that Noah's shop had become an essential resource for Esta's magical community. The permanent enhancements he provided were transforming people's capabilities and prospects. Also, Princess Alara and Guild Master Valeria expressed their desire to return later today, Lola mentioned with a knowing smile. Do you know why? Noah asked, curious. Today was his final day in Esta, and if it was something important, it was better for them to arrive early or for him to meet them. You've done incredible work tonight, Noah told Lola with genuine appreciation. But seriously, you need to start taking proper breaks. Your contract was part-time, not full-time. You are starting to work harder than me. I'll consider it, she replied with that familiar teasing tone that suggested she'd continue working exactly as much as she wanted, regardless of his concerns. This girl. The evening's commercial triumph had positioned his business for continued growth while providing Esta's practitioners with enhancements that would serve them for years to come. The mutual benefit satisfied both his entrepreneurial instincts and his growing care for the people who'd become more than just customers. Tomorrow brings the tournament. Tonight's success ensures the shop will thrive regardless of how long I'm away. With his financial position stronger than ever and his swordsmanship enhanced to level 11, Noah felt prepared for whatever challenges awaited him. The combination of magical enhancement and traditional training had created capabilities that should serve him well against even skilled opponents. Noah checked the system interface to determine how much time remained before the forced relocation would activate, regardless of his personal preferences or ongoing activities. Time remaining until mandatory shop relocation. 4 hours. Noah nodded his head in acknowledgement. 4 hours provided adequate time for any final business or farewells that needed to occur before his departure from Esta. He turned toward Lola with curiosity about the timing of their expected visitors. When did the princess and Valeria say they would return? They mentioned arriving within the next hour, Lola replied. Princess Alara seemed quite insistent about the timing. I'll wait for them, Noah decided, settling into his chair behind the counter. Whatever they want to discuss, it's clearly important enough to coordinate their schedules. The hour passed with pleasant conversation between Noah and Lola, punctuated by Leo's playful antics as the young lion entertained them. The familiar rhythm of shop operations continued around them, though no customers arrived during this particular period. Then, exactly as predicted, familiar voices approached from outside the shop entrance. Princess Alara entered first, followed immediately by Valeria, whose guild captain authority seemed equally heightened. Behind them came Kip and Alyssa, the cat siblings wearing expressions of excited anticipation mixed with obvious sadness. Noah, Alara greeted him with warmth. You are finally here. We have something special planned for your final evening in Esta. Something special? Noah asked with growing curiosity about their arrival and mysterious expressions. A farewell celebration, Valeria explained with a smile that carried both joy and melancholy. The entire kingdom wanted to express their gratitude before your departure. Alyssa stepped forward with her directness. We've organized a party in the main plaza. Everyone who's been touched by your generosity wanted the chance to say goodbye properly. Kip nodded enthusiastically, his cat ears perked with excitement. It was Princess Alara's idea, but the whole city participated in the planning. You've changed so many lives here. A city-wide farewell party. That's overwhelming. Come on, Alara said with gentle insistence, extending her hand toward him. You can't refuse when the entire population is waiting. Lola emerged from behind the counter, her Grandmaster-level power completely concealed. To casual observation, she appeared to be merely an attractive shop assistant rather than the second most powerful individual in the entire kingdom. Her ability to hide her true strength was so complete that even master-level magical senses would struggle to detect her power or demon heritage. Lola was now comfortable with the group, She no longer needed to be invited to join in on the ceremonies. She basically belonged wherever Noah went. The group made their way through Esta's familiar streets, but Noah quickly noticed something extraordinary about their journey. People lined the pathways, not coincidentally but deliberately, creating an informal honor guard that guided them toward the central plaza. Children waved enthusiastically while their parents smiled with genuine warmth. Shopkeepers emerged from their businesses to nod respectfully. Even random passersby stopped their activities to acknowledge the small procession moving through their city. Word really did spread throughout the entire kingdom. As they approached the main plaza, Noah's eyes widened at the transformation that had occurred during his absence. The usual commercial space had been converted into a festival ground, complete with decorative banners, food stalls, and a raised platform that could only be intended for speeches. Hundreds of people filled the area. More citizens than Noah had ever seen gathered in one location. The crowd represented every social class and profession, from common laborers to wealthy merchants, from young apprentices to elderly masters. Chapter 226, Farewell Party 2. The entire city turned out for this. But what truly shocked Noah was the sight of additional figures emerging from the crowd's center. King Aldrich himself approached, accompanied by the queen and several high-ranking nobles whose presence indicated this celebration carried official royal endorsement. "Your Majesty," Noah said with appropriate respect, though his surprise was evident in his voice. "Viscount Carter," King Aldrich replied with warmth that transcended formal protocol. "The kingdom owes you a debt that cannot be measured in gold or titles. Your contributions to our people's well-being and our defense capabilities have been extraordinary." The queen stepped forward with a gentle smile. "You've healed our citizens, strengthened our warriors, and brought hope during our darkest challenges. This celebration reflects the gratitude of everyone whose life you've touched." The crowd began applauding as Noah's presence was recognized throughout the plaza. The sound started with those closest to the royal party and spread outward like ripples on water, creating a wave of appreciation that filled the evening air. "Speech! Speech!" Voices called from various sections of the crowd, the chant building momentum until it became impossible to ignore. Princess Alara gently guided Noah toward the raised platform, her expression carrying pride and affection that went beyond mere diplomatic courtesy. "They want to hear from you," she said softly. As Noah stepped onto the platform and faced the assembled crowd, he felt genuinely moved by the outpouring of appreciation. These weren't just customers or business contacts. They had become a community that valued his presence. "They see me as more than just a temporary shopkeeper. I've somehow become part of their world." The evening continued with food, celebrations, and countless personal conversations as individuals approached to share stories about how his products had affected their lives. Veterans whose injuries had been healed by his bread. Mages whose capabilities had been enhanced by their enhancement items. Families whose loved ones had been saved through access to his items. This reminded him of a certain girl from the Demon Kingdom, Kellis. To say that it didn't affect him emotionally would be a lie. Despite his strength, despite the change, it didn't change the fact that he was a human from Earth. Someone who felt bad when he saw terrible things happen. Kellis' death was a shock to him, and it made him feel some sadness. The adventure girl, despite their short-term meeting, still felt bad for her. Each story reinforced the impact he'd made during his relatively brief time in Esta, transforming what had begun as simple interdimensional commerce into relationships that transcended business. As the evening progressed and his departure time approached, Noah found himself genuinely reluctant to leave these people who had welcomed him so completely into their world. "Esta will always hold a special place in my journey." As the farewell celebration began winding down, the massive crowd gradually dispersed back to their homes and evening routines, leaving behind only those who had formed genuine personal bonds with Noah during his time in Esta. The plaza, which had been filled with hundreds of grateful citizens just an hour earlier, now felt intimate and peaceful with only his closest friends remaining. Even King Aldrich had departed after offering his final thanks, understanding that these last moments belonged to those who had shared more personal connections with the departing Viscount. Kip, Alyssa, Princess Alara, Valeria, and Lola settled onto the decorative benches that had been arranged around the platform, creating a comfortable circle where they could enjoy their remaining time together without the formality that larger gatherings required. "I can't believe you're really leaving in a few hours," Kip said with a mixture of sadness and acceptance in his young voice. "It feels like you just arrived and started changing everything." Alyssa nodded in agreement, her silver ears drooping slightly despite her efforts to maintain composure. "The academy won't be the same without knowing you're just a few districts away with your magical shop." "A shop with item descriptions that turned out to be completely true," Valeria laughed, shaking her head at the memory of their first encounter. "Remember when I thought you were some kind of elaborate con artist? Now, half the kingdom's strength comes from your enhancement items." Princess Ilara smiled warmly at the recollection. "I think my favorite memory was watching you turn down the Magic Academy enrollment like it was a casual dinner invitation. Most people would give anything for that opportunity." "Most people don't have a shop to manage," Noah replied with amusement. "Though I have to admit, the academy would have been interesting." Lola, who had remained quietly observant during the more public portions of the evening, finally spoke with her teasing tone. "I'm just impressed you managed to befriend royalty, guild leaders, and magical prodigies." Noah laughed. "They all made it easy by being genuinely good people rather than just trying to exploit what I could offer. That's what real friendship means," Alyssa said with the wisdom that sometimes emerged from her serious nature. "Supporting each other because you care about each other. Your support for us when you had nothing to gain from us will always be something we will be thankful for." The conversation flowed naturally between shared memories, gentle teasing about past embarrassments, and speculation about when Noah would finally return. Valeria regaled them with exaggerated retellings of guild members' reactions to their first magical bread experiences, while Kip demonstrated his improved magical abilities that had been enhanced through Noah's premium items. Princess Ilara shared amusing anecdotes from court life, including Noble's increasingly desperate attempts to ask royalty to introduce them to Noah, who had become a fearsome figure in the kingdom. As laughter and conversation continued under the evening stars, Noah received a warning from the system. There were 10 minutes left before the shop would relocate. Noah stood up from his seat before addressing his group of friends. "I had an amazing time being with you guys, thank you. When I come back, this place better become a metropolis filled with powerful individuals." Noah then turned towards Kip and Alyssa. "Kip, Alyssa, both of you have immense potential. The next time I'm here, you better be at the master rank. Otherwise, I would have left you behind in the dust." Kip nodded his head aggressively. "I will become the strongest wind magician to ever exist in Esta. I will show you." Noah chuckled before nodding and taking out another Tier 5 wind orb and gifting it to the kid. The group were no longer shocked by Noah's crazy gifts. They had seen too much in the past 10 days and it had become normal. Alyssa's response was a shy nod, unlike Kip's. After gifting Kip the wind orb, Noah turned towards the others and said, "Sorry guys, I don't have anything that could help you. Maybe next time I will bring some souvenirs with me." Everyone immediately shook their heads. "No, you've done enough for us, your presence was enough." Noah smiled before nodding his head. He bid them all farewell and left the plaza heading towards his shop. In a few minutes he would enter his shop and the system's relocation would start. And once again he would be thrust into a different place. Whether it was a different kingdom or a different world, he hoped it would help him improve. Chapter 227, Farewell, New Location. Inside his shop, Noah prepared for the inevitable relocation that would transport them to whatever destination the system had selected for their next adventure. The countdown timer displayed prominently in his vision, marking the final minutes of their time in Esta. Each passing second brought them closer to departure from the kingdom that had become more than just another business location. His friends stood gathered outside the shop, just as they had during his previous emergency departure to the Demon Kingdom. But this time, the circumstances were completely different. This was a planned farewell with proper goodbyes rather than a sudden disappearance. Unlike his previous abrupt vanishing that had left them confused and worried, Noah stepped to his shop's doorway and waved to each of them individually. His gesture carried warmth and gratitude for the relationships that had made Esta feel like home rather than merely another commercial stop. "Thank you for everything," he called out, his voice carrying across the small distance between them. Princess Alara, Valeria, Kip, and Alyssa waved back with expressions that mixed sadness at his departure with appreciation for the proper farewell he was providing this time. Then the countdown reached 0, and with it the shop simply vanished. One moment, the familiar building stood before them, its wooden sign and welcoming entrance marking the center of their community's transformation. The next moment, empty space remained where Noah's store had existed. Where his shop had been, a perfectly ordinary building materialized standard Esta architecture that looked like it had always belonged in that location. The magical transition was so seamless that anyone unfamiliar with recent events would never suspect anything unusual had occurred. Valeria shook her head with a wry smile, her guild captain's composure cracking slightly at witnessing such impossible magic. "It's still completely unbelievable how such a thing is possible." Her warrior's mind struggled to process transportation magic that operated beyond anything she had ever witnessed. As a newly advanced master-level swordsman, she knew a lot about the powers of master-level and even archmage-level magic. The ability to move the shop like this was something even an archmage couldn't do, yet Noah did it at apprentice rank. Princess Alara nodded, shock evident across her royal features. She hadn't witnessed Noah's previous departure to the Demon Kingdom, making this her first direct observation of his shop relocation. The casual teleportation of what they'd just seen challenged everything she understood about magical limitations and spatial manipulation. "Your narrative last time didn't do it justice," Alara breathed, staring at the unremarkable building that had replaced their friend's miraculous store. "Seeing it happen, that's genuinely impossible magic." After several moments of processing what they'd witnessed, Alara turned toward Valeria with the expression of someone formulating important plans. "We know that when he returns, he'll appear in this exact same spot," she said with growing determination. "I need to prepare comprehensive plans with my father. We should transform this location into a proper plaza. This should become the biggest attraction in our entire city." The royal mind was already envisioning the possibilities. A dedicated space that honored Noah's contributions while ensuring his future returns would be met with appropriate ceremony and infrastructure. Valeria nodded in complete agreement. Dimensional transport complete. Welcome to Ethermore, the divided Elven Kingdom. Location: neutral border territory. Shop status: successfully relocated. Noah felt the familiar sensation of interdimensional travel fade as reality solidified around his shop. The transition was always disorienting, but he'd grown accustomed to the brief moment of spatial displacement that accompanied each relocation. Leo bounded to his feet immediately, his enhanced senses already analyzing their new environment with the alertness of a predator assessing unfamiliar territory. "Father, this place feels tense," Leo observed, his voice carrying concern. Noah nodded, moving toward the shop's windows to survey their new surroundings. What he saw immediately explained Leo's unease. The landscape outside was starkly divided in ways that defied natural geography. To the east, golden sunlight bathed rolling hills and verdant forests in warm radiance. Ancient trees with silver bark reached towards the sky, their leaves shimmering with light that suggested magical cultivation, just like his Demonica Munberg. To the west, the terrain shifted dramatically into darker territory where shadows lingered despite the daylight hours. Volcanic peaks rose in the distance, their peaks wreathed in smoke that created perpetual twilight over underground cities, whose entrances were visible as darker patches carved into mountainsides. The border between these contrasting realms ran directly through the area where his shop had materialized, a narrow strip of neutral ground that neither side appeared to claim or control. Lola moved closer to the window, and her expression immediately darkened as she took in the view through the shop's windows. "Well, this is problematic," she said with obvious displeasure, her ruby eyes scanning the divided landscape with growing concern. "You know this place?" Noah raised an eyebrow. Lola nodded her head solemnly. Noah turned to look outside. The fact that Lola knew this place meant that they were still in the same world, but in a different kingdom, more specifically the Elven Kingdom. What exactly are we looking at? Noah asked, noting the tension in her voice that suggested familiarity with whatever situation they'd been transported into. Lola moved to stand beside him at the window, her Grandmaster-level senses analyzing the magical energies that permeated their new environment. "We're in Ethermore," she explained with the tone of someone delivering unwelcome news. "Specifically, we've landed in the neutral border territory between the Sunward Territories and the Shadowvale Dominion." Noah raised an eyebrow at the ominous names. "That sounds like we're in the middle of a conflict zone." "Exactly what we are," Lola confirmed with a sigh that spoke to personal knowledge of the situation. Ethermore was once a unified elven kingdom, but it's been split for over a few decades in one of the most bitter civil wars this world has encountered. Noah frowned before saying, "Can you tell me more about it?" Lola nodded before narrating her knowledge of the area. Chapter 228, Ethermore Kingdom. She gestured toward the eastern territories bathed in golden light. The Sunward Territories are controlled by the Light Elves under Queen Seraphina Goldleaf. They believe themselves to be the righteous inheritors of the original kingdom and view Dark Elves as corrupted beings who must be purified or eliminated. Her hand shifted to indicate the darker western regions. The Shadowvale Dominion is ruled by Lord Regent Darian Nightshade in place of their missing king. They seek total domination over the entire kingdom and consider light elves to be inferior beings suitable only for enslavement. Noah absorbed this information with a growing understanding of why Lola seemed so concerned about their new location. "So we're literally positioned between two warring factions who hate each other," he summarized grimly. "Worse than that," Lola continued with increasing worry. "Both sides view neutral territory as a strategic asset to be claimed. Our shop's presence here will immediately attract attention from military scouts and political operatives from both kingdoms. They should be making plans to come here within the next few minutes." She turned away from the window to face him directly, her expression carrying the seriousness of someone explaining genuine danger. "The economic situation makes it even more complicated," Lola added. "Both kingdoms are desperate for any advantage they can gain, especially magical items that could tip the balance of power." Noah's merchant instincts immediately recognized the implications. "Which means our products will be extremely valuable to both sides." "Exactly. But accepting customers from one side, while refusing the other, could be interpreted as choosing sides in their conflict," Lola warned. "And choosing sides in this war means becoming a target for whichever faction we reject." Leo padded over to join their conversation, radiating the alertness of someone who sensed danger despite not understanding its complexities. "Are we in immediate danger, Father?" Leo asked with the directness that came naturally to his predator instincts. "Not immediately," Noah replied, though his tone carried appropriate caution. "But we need to be very careful about how we conduct business here." Lola nodded in agreement. "The neutral border territory exists because neither side has been able to claim it permanently, not because they respect its independence. We're in a power vacuum that both kingdoms would love to fill." Noah studied the landscape again, noting details he'd missed during his initial observation. Watchtowers were visible on both sides of the border, their strategic positioning suggesting constant surveillance of the neutral zone. "How do we handle customers from both factions without appearing to favor either side?" he asked, already considering the diplomatic challenges their situation would require. "Very carefully," Lola replied with grim humor, "and we'll need to establish clear policies immediately before representatives from either kingdom arrive to test our neutrality." The complexity of their new environment was becoming clear. Unlike Esta's straightforward human kingdom or the demon realm's internal politics, Ethermore presented a three-way challenge involving two hostile elven factions and the precarious neutrality their shop would need to maintain. "Well," Noah said with determination despite the complications, "we've handled difficult situations before. Time to see what opportunities this divided kingdom can offer." Eastern Watchtower Sunward Territories. Captain Lysander Brightblade stood atop the watchtower, his golden hair catching the perpetual sunlight that blessed their righteous lands. His keen elven eyes swept across the neutral zone with vigilance. He was someone who had spent decades guarding against shadow elf incursions. Another day watching those corrupted wretches skulk in their caves. He muttered to his subordinate, gesturing toward the dark western territories with obvious disgust. "Indeed, Captain," the subordinate replied, her voice carrying the righteous anger that all proper light elves felt toward their fallen kin. "I don't understand why Queen Seraphina tolerates their continued existence. They should all be purified or driven from Ethermore entirely." "The Queen's mercy sometimes exceeds her wisdom," Lysander agreed grimly. "Those shadow-corrupted monsters have no place in a realm blessed by pure light. Every day they're allowed to fester in their volcanic lairs is another day they plot against our—" His words died abruptly as something suddenly changed in the neutral zone for the first time ever. Where an empty borderland had existed moments before, a building materialized out of nothingness. Not constructed, but created from pure magical energy in a display of power. "By the one true God," Aurelia breathed, her hand instinctively moving to her enchanted blade. "What is that?" Lysander stared in shock at the impossible structure that had appeared in the most strategically sensitive location in the entire kingdom. A building, by all appearances, complete with signs and windows and the casual normalcy that made its sudden existence even more disturbing. Lysander read the sign on the building and frowned softly. "Idle shop? Sound the alarm," he commanded, his voice tight. "Send word to Prince Adrian immediately. Tell him something has manifested in the neutral zone. Something that shouldn't be possible, and it's called the Idle Shop. Western Outpost, Shadowvale Dominion." Commander Thane Darkwhisper crouched in the shadow of his obsidian observation post, his violet eyes scanning the border with the patient malevolence that characterized all true dark elves. The perpetual twilight of their domain suited his surveillance perfectly, allowing him to observe without being easily detected. "Look at those light-blinded fools," he sneered to his subordinate, pointing toward the eastern watchtower where golden banners fluttered in manufactured sunlight, standing there in their gaudy tower like beacons announcing their presence to anyone with functional eyes. "Truly pathetic. I don't understand why we don't simply collapse their precious crystal spires and be done with it. Light elves are nothing but deluded weaklings who've forgotten the true power of shadow magic." "The Lord Regent has his reasons for maintaining this stalemate," Thane replied with the patience of someone who understood larger strategies. "But mark my words, when the time comes to reclaim our rightful dominion over all of Ethermore, those golden-haired pretenders will learn what real elven magic can." The air in front of them rippled like water disturbed by an unseen stone. Both shadow elves watched in stunned silence as a structure coalesced from pure magical energy, appearing in the neutral zone. "What sorcery is this?" a female dark elf whispered, her usual confidence shaken by witnessing magic that operated beyond anything she had witnessed before. Thane's violet eyes narrowed as he studied the building that had willed itself into existence. "I don't know, but it's appeared in territory that we consider strategically vital. Could it be some new light elf trick?" the female elf suggested, though her tone carried doubt about that explanation. "No," Thane said with certainty born from decades of studying their enemies. "Light elves lack the magical power for this kind of manifestation. This is something else entirely. Something unprecedented." He stood abruptly, his mind already calculating the implications of this development for the ongoing conflict. "Send word to Lord Regent Darien immediately," he commanded with urgent authority. "Tell him an unknown magical structure has appeared in the neutral zone. And tell him," he paused, staring at the impossible shop, "tell him it's unlike anything we've encountered before." Both outposts scrambled to alert their respective leadership, setting in motion a chain of events that would soon bring representatives from both warring factions to Noah's doorstep. Chapter 229. Fighting over the Relic. High Mage Elena Starweaver appeared in a cascade of golden light mere yards from the mysterious structure, her pseudo-archmage magic creating ripples of pure radiance that made the very air shimmer with power. Her pristine white robes fluttered despite the absence of strong winds, maintained by subtle light magic that enhanced her already imposing presence. Her green eyes immediately fixed on the building with a mixture of fascination and cautiousness. This was clearly some form of ancient magical construct, possibly a relic from the unified kingdom's golden age that could tip the balance of their decades-long conflict. Finally, she thought with satisfaction, an opportunity to claim something of real power for the light. But her moment of triumph was immediately soured by the nauseating sensation of shadow magic polluting the area around her. Shadow Mage Kale Walker emerged from a pool of living darkness that seemed to devour light itself, his pseudo-archmage abilities allowing him to travel through shadows. His midnight black robes wrapped around him in complete contrast to Elena's. The two pseudo-archmages spotted each other simultaneously, their expressions changing from interest to immediate hostility as prejudices overrode their curiosity about the building. Kale Walker? Elena spat with disgust that transcended mere personal dislike. I should have expected shadow-corrupted filth to slither out of whatever hole you call home the moment something of value appears. Elena Starweaver, Kale replied with silky malice. Still playing with petty lights while real magic reshapes the world around you. How predictable. Both mages circled each other with wariness, neither willing to approach the mysterious shop while the other remained present. The magical energies radiating from their presence began interacting in dangerous ways. Light and shadow magic creating unstable fluctuations that made the air itself crackle with power. This relic belongs to the righteous, Elena declared with absolute conviction in her words, raising her staff as light began gathering around its apex. Whatever power lies within will be used to purify this realm of shadow corruption once and for all. Belong to the righteous? Purify the shadow. Kale laughed with genuine amusement at her presumption that he found absurd. You light-blinded fool. This is clearly a manifestation of true shadow magic. The kind your pathetic order that has spent centuries trying to suppress. It will serve the superior elven race as was always intended. Neither mage had bothered to investigate whether the structure might be occupied. In their minds, the sudden appearance of such a building could only mean one thing. A dormant magical artifact or ancient relic had finally activated, possibly in response to the ongoing conflict between their kingdoms. Stand down, Shadow Rat, Elena commanded with authority that would have cowed lesser beings. The Light Elves are the rightful heirs to all of Ethermore's magical heritage. Your corrupted kind forfeited any claim to power when you embraced the darkness. Rightful heirs. Kale's voice dropped to a whisper that carried more menace than any shout. Your ancestors were weaklings who clung to primitive light magic while ours mastered the true forces that govern the night. This relic will recognize its proper masters. The tension between them reached critical mass as both pseudo-archmages prepared for combat that would determine who gained first access to whatever treasures the mysterious building contained. Elena raised her staff higher, and the golden light surrounding her intensified into something approaching miniature sunlight. Last warning, Shadow Worm. Withdraw, or face the purifying might of eternal radiance. How adorable, Kale murmured, shadows beginning to writhe around him like living serpents. The light-drunk pretender thinks her parlor tricks can match dark magic. Allow me to educate you about real power. Neither combatant noticed that inside the magical artifact they spoke of, a human, a succubus, and a golden mane lion existed. Their focus remained entirely on each other and the potential magical prizes they assumed lay within the unguarded structure. For the glory of the sunward territories, Elena shouted, unleashing a concentrated beam of light magic that could have melted through solid stone. For the supremacy of shadow, Kale responded, creating a barrier of living darkness that absorbed her attack while launching tendrils of corrupted energy toward her position. The battle erupted with the intensity that only pseudo-archmage-level magic could produce. Hence, the reason why both kingdoms only sent pseudo-archmage powers. Had they both sent an archmage, which they both had in numbers, a large battle would have erupted, and its effects could have caused an all-out war. Light and shadow clashed in displays of power that sent shockwaves through the neutral zone, each spell carrying enough energy to level buildings or reshape landscapes. Golden radiance warred against consuming darkness as two of the most powerful elves in Ethermore fought for the right to claim what they assumed was an ancient artifact of immense power. Inside the shop, Noah watched the magical duel through his windows without any concern over the property damage their fight might cause to his newly relocated shop. He knew very well that his shop wouldn't be affected by even archmage powers, let alone pseudo-archmage powers. "Well," he said to Lola with dry humor, "I think we've found our first customers, though they seem more interested in destroying each other than shopping." Lola observed the pseudo-archmage level combat with interest. Classic elven arrogance. They're so busy hating each other that they haven't even bothered to investigate what they're fighting over. Leo padded over to join them at the window, his cute, round eyes analyzing the magical energies being thrown around outside. "Should we let them know we're here, Father? Or wait for them to finish trying to beat each other?" "Let's see how this plays out," Noah decided. "I'm curious whether they'll actually investigate the shop before or after they exhaust themselves fighting over it." The battle raged on, with neither pseudo-archmage gaining a decisive advantage, while the simple truth of the situation remained completely unknown to both combatants. Both kingdoms kept archmage-class warriors on standby. For now, they relied on pseudo-archmage forces to avoid sparking an all-out war. But neither side would hesitate to unleash a true archmage if it meant halting the other's advance. Chapter 230, First Entry. Rock, Paper, Scissors. Seeing the magical attacks intensifying rather than diminishing, and realizing the two pseudo-archmages were genuinely about to kill each other over his shop, Noah sighed with the resignation of someone whose business kept attracting violent misunderstandings. "This is getting out of hand," he muttered, watching another exchange of devastating spells that sent tremors through the ground. "I need to stop this before they destroy the entire area." He turned toward Lola with a request he knew might be dangerous. "Would you mind protecting me while I go out there? I don't think my attributes are quite sufficient for this level of crossfire." Lola's ruby eyes sparkled with delight at his request, her lips curving into a smile that carried layers of meaning beyond simple agreement. "Of course I'll keep you safe," she purred, her voice dropping in tone. The way her voice flowed was like silk, smooth and buttery. "I'd hate for anything to happen to such a kind, handsome boss. You can always count on me to shield you from danger." The way she emphasized certain words made Noah's cheeks warm slightly before he regained power over his emotions. "Right?" he said, clearing his throat. "Let's go prevent such a gruesome incident. I don't want my arrival to coincide with the death of an elf. That wouldn't be a good first impression. Am I it?" Lola nodded, a smile on her face. "Of course you are right. You are always right." They stepped outside just as both pseudo-archmages were gathering power for what appeared to be their most devastating attacks yet. Elena's staff blazed with light that nearly blinded Noah. Had Lola not shielded him, while Kale's shadows had coalesced into something that seemed to devour light around him. The moment Noah and Lola emerged from the shop, both combatants froze mid-casting, their prepared spells dissolving as they felt the appearance of an archmage-level power from the artifact's entrance. Despite reading the clear sign that stated idle shop, they still believed it to be an artifact. "A succubus!" Elena breathed, her green eyes widening as she took in Lola's unmistakable aura and appearance. "And a human?" Kale's violet eyes darted between the two unexpected figures, his mind struggling to process what he was witnessing. How is this possible? Succubi don't travel with humans, and both certainly don't have the power or resources to appear in this artifact. Both pseudo-archmages lowered their weapons slightly, their attention shifting from each other to the far more intriguing mystery of why these two beings had emerged from what they'd assumed was an ancient magical relic. "Were you?" Elena asked with growing confusion. "Were you inside that?" "It's not a relic at all," Kale realized with dawning comprehension. "It's actually occupied." Noah stepped forward with a calm look on his face. Despite standing between two of the most powerful magical practitioners in the kingdom who had just been trying to obliterate each other, they weren't the strongest, but they were certainly among the strong. "Good afternoon," he said with the courtesy of someone accustomed to dealing with volatile customers. "I'm Noah Carter, a human merchant from afar, and this is my humble shop. I couldn't help but notice you both seemed interested in the building, though perhaps we could discuss your needs without the explosive negotiations. Both pseudo-archmages stared at him in stunned silence, their worldviews struggling to accommodate the reality that they'd been fighting over a humble commercial establishment rather than an ancient source of ultimate power. The anticlimax was almost suffocating. You said what, human? Kale's voice carried dangerous incredulity mixed with barely contained aggression. A humble shop? What kind of humble shop suddenly appears in the middle of our kingdom? Despite his aggressive tone, Kale remained visibly cautious as his enhanced senses analyzed both Noah and Lola. His pseudo-archmage abilities allowed him to detect the succubus's true power level, and the readings made his violet eyes narrow with wariness. She's an archmage. A true archmage, not pseudo-rank like myself. This situation is far more complex than it appeared. Elena stepped forward with composure that contrasted sharply with Kale's hostility. Of course, we can discuss matters without resorting to violence. It's simply that these shadow gremlins always resort to fighting first, so we're forced to protect ourselves and our legitimate interests. Before Kale could launch into what was clearly going to be an inflammatory response, Noah intervened. All right, easy now. There's no need to fight over my shop. Why don't you both enter and see what I have available? You might find something that benefits your respective pursuits. The two pseudo-archmages looked at each other for a tense moment, decades of mutual hatred crackling between them like barely contained lightning. Elena scoffed with dismissive superiority before completely ignoring Kale's presence and turning toward the shop entrance. Very well. Let's see what you have in this interesting establishment. Her deliberate snub was calculated to provoke maximum irritation while maintaining plausible diplomatic deniability. Noah smiled with satisfaction at their grudging acceptance before leading the way toward his shop with Lola gracefully following beside him. Noah wasn't foolish enough to believe that the entire fight was solely because of the dark elf. Things were never that simple. Before taking sides or even having prejudice, Noah wanted to understand both sides. As they approached the entrance, Noah's instincts warned him about the potential for continued conflict within his shop. You can enter one at a time, he announced with firm politeness. I don't want you fighting inside my shop. This is for your own good. Noah wasn't afraid that they would damage the items or the shop. Not at all, but he was afraid that he would get angry and kick them out of the shop. Hence, he completely removed the possibility by adding that clause. Both pseudo-archmages frowned with immediate indignation at the perceived unfairness of his restriction. That's completely unreasonable. Why should I be forced to wait while the other gains advantage through priority access? Agreed, Kale added with rare consensus. This arrangement favors whoever enters first with information about your inventory and prices. Chapter 231. First Elf Customer. Kale would have gladly accepted if he had known the position was his. But seeing that the man before him was human, he felt he would choose the light elf girl. In his eyes, most humans were perverts. Noah considered their legitimate concerns before offering a solution that demonstrated his growing creativity in handling issues that came with his shopkeeping. You can do rock, paper, scissors to determine order. This way you can both be satisfied with the result, as I will have no power to alter the result, he suggested with helpful enthusiasm. Both pseudo-archmages stared at him with expressions that mixed confusion and growing suspicion about his mental state. Rock, paper, what? Elena asked slowly. She had no clue what the phrase meant, but she had a hunch that it was part of the human culture which she had no clue about. Scissors, Kale finished with equal bewilderment. What manner of strange human ritual is this supposed to represent? Noah nodded with a knowing smile. Naturally, the elves wouldn't know what it meant, but he was there right next to them and he would teach them the basic, simple game. It's a method for making decisions, he explained patiently. Each person simultaneously makes one of 3 gestures with their hand. Rock beats scissors, scissors beat paper, paper beats rock. Best 2 out of 3 wins. He demonstrated each gesture while explaining the rules, watching as both pseudo-archmages processed this alien concept with the seriousness they would normally reserve for analyzing complex magical spells. After several clarifying questions about proper technique, they agreed to participate in this strange human custom. The contest proceeded with intense concentration as both elves approached rock, paper, scissors with a tactical mindset, as if they were approaching war. Very well, I shall demonstrate the intellectual superiority of light magic practitioners through this human decision-making ritual. Intellectual superiority? Kale scoffed while stretching his fingers like a pianist preparing for a performance. Shadow magic requires far more thinking than your flashy light shows. This contest will prove that dark elves possess superior minds. Noah positioned himself between them with the gravitas of an official tournament referee. Remember, best 2 out of 3. On my count. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Round 1. Both pseudo-archmages thrust their hands forward at a pace that Noah found difficult to track. Elena threw scissors with elegant grace, her 2 fingers extending forward. Kale's hand formed a rock with confidence, his fist clenched as if preparing to crush enemies. Rock beats scissors, Noah announced with theatrical authority. Kale wins round 1. Impossible! Elena gasped with genuine shock, staring at her defeated fingers as if they had personally betrayed her. Kale smirked with satisfaction. Noah immediately announced the beginning of the second round before they fought once again. Elena's green eyes glinted with a competitive spirit as she prepared herself mentally for the second fight. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. This time, Elena chose paper, her 5 fingers blooming like a flower. Kale threw a rock once again with confidence, perhaps assuming his previous victory would indicate another one. Paper engulfs rock, Noah declared with growing amusement. Elena wins round 2. Light prevails, Elena proclaimed triumphantly. Kale stared at his defeated rock with the expression of someone whose entire worldview had been challenged. That makes no sense whatsoever. This is the game, I've already explained it before. There is no use for complaining now, Noah immediately stated before things got out of hand. But don't worry, you still have one more round. Whoever wins this round will be the first to enter. Prepare carefully, and think about what you are going to choose. The third round proceeded, and it ended with the victory of Elena Starweaver, who celebrated in excitement. Kale ground his teeth audibly but remained silent as Noah quickly clarified the arrangement to prevent future disputes. You'll have access to exactly the same options and quantities, Noah assured the defeated Shadow Mage. No special deals or exclusive offers based on entry order. With Lola's Archmage-level presence radiating subtle but unmistakable power beside Noah, Kale chose not to challenge the arrangement further. Fine, he said with barely controlled frustration. But I expect complete fairness in our transactions. Of course. Noah smiled before walking with Elena towards his shop entrance. Kale watched as Noah and Elena disappeared through the shop entrance, leaving him alone outside the mysterious establishment that had materialized in the most strategically important location in their divided kingdom. The Shadow Mage moved to a position several yards away from the shop, ensuring his conversation would remain private from the light mages while maintaining visual surveillance of the building. His violet eyes continued scanning for any signs of additional threats or unexpected developments. Reaching into the depths of his midnight black robes, Kale withdrew a communication crystal that pulsed with dark energy. The obsidian-like stone responded to his touch by establishing a secure magical connection to the Shadowvale Dominion's capital. Commander, I have urgent news about the situation in the neutral zone. Kale spoke into the crystal with a respectful tone. The crystal flared with shadow magic as the commander's voice from the border emerged clearly despite the distance between them. Report, Kale. What have you discovered about the sudden appearance of that building? The structure is not an ancient relic as we initially theorized. It's an active commercial establishment operated by a human merchant and an archmage-level succubus. Silence stretched across the magical connection as the commander processed this unexpected information. A human and a succubus operating a shop in neutral territory. They aren't simple. Tell me what happened. Why did the light elves enter before us? Kale's grip tightened on the communication crystal as he explained the human ritual and his loss. The commander stayed silent for a second before saying, "All right, don't worry too much. This might actually be a good thing for us." The light elves were not prepared for the appearance of that shop. So that stupid wretch wouldn't have much to trade with him. "Come to the border, we will supply you with things to trade for and golden coins. Humans love gold, and the human merchant might use that as a currency." "Yes, Commander," Kale responded with exasperation. He suddenly felt good about his loss. He would enter that shop prepared and buy what he could. Whilst the human shopkeeper had said they would both get the same opportunity, that didn't mean they would both have the ability to buy them. Meanwhile, on the light elf side, the commander at the border watched with a smile on his face. Although he didn't know what had transpired exactly near the building with the idle shop sign, he knew that it was in their favor. He saw the way Elena smiled in triumph before entering the building alongside the human and succubus. The commander turned to face the light elves waiting alongside him and said, "Rejoice, elves of the light. Elena might have secured us a powerful opportunity from that mysterious building." The elves behind the commander rejoiced and celebrated like little children despite their ranks ranging from adept to master rank. "Light! Light!" The elves started chanting in excitement. Chapter 232, Light Elf. Inside the shop, Noah began his standard product introduction, watching Elena's reactions carefully as her green eyes moved across the displays with growing amazement. "These are my basic products," Noah explained, gesturing toward the bread and iced tea. The bread accelerates natural healing by 30%, while the iced tea enhances mana reserves and regeneration for magical practitioners. Both effects last for 10 minutes, and the effects are the same across all ranks. Elena examined the golden loaves with the intensity of someone whose entire worldview was being challenged. 30% increase, no matter the rank? That's extraordinary. "The effects are temporary but reliable," Noah confirmed, moving to his premium displays. Now these items provide more significant benefits. As he explained the protein bars, energy drinks, and other enhancement items, Elena's expression changed from interest to unrestrained shock. Her eyes were almost bulging, and her body could barely control its excitement. "Permanent attribute increases?" she breathed, her voice carrying the awe of someone who understood exactly how impossible such effects should be. "These items would be considered rare in any kingdom. Whilst we have had similar items before, they were in our glory days, and they most certainly weren't in abundance." "How do you have so many?" Noah smiled before saying, "Trade secrets." Noah then shifted the conversation toward one of the areas of his interest. "I have to admit, I'm curious about your kingdom's situation. The divided territories, the ongoing conflict. It seems like a complex place." Elena's expression immediately hardened upon the topic brought up. "Complex is one way to describe it. Tragic would be more accurate." She moved away from the product displays to face him directly, her green eyes conveying melancholy and stress that were evident in their depths. The weight of the civil war seemed to settle on her shoulders as she prepared to explain her kingdom's tragic history. Elena began, her voice carrying the reverence of someone recounting sacred history. "Our realm was once the jewel of this continent. The unified kingdom of Ethermore under the Golden Throne represented the pinnacle of elven civilization. You name it, whether it was art, magic, culture, everything flourished in harmony for millennia. We were the most advanced civilization across the world. We were at the peak of the world." Her expression darkened as she continued. "But that was before the corruption took hold, before nature itself began rejecting those who would name themselves the Shadow Elves." Noah listened carefully. He was able to process not just her words but the underlying assumptions and prejudices that colored her narrative. "You see," Elena explained with a patient tone, as if she were educating a foreigner about obvious truths that weren't known to them. "Elves are beings of natural magic. Our connection to the world's life force is what defines us as a species. Light magic flows from this connection. It's pure, harmonious, life-giving." Noah nodded softly as he listened to her words. So far, everything she had said about her species aligned with his own understanding of them from human literature, and it made him ponder. Did a human ever visit those elves? If so, how and where? Noah shook off the drifting thoughts and focused on Elena's story. He would worry about that later. For now, he needed to listen to her side. Elena gestured toward herself as an example. My magic draws from the surrounding, from growth, from the positive energies that sustain all living things. This is how elves are meant to be. Elena's voice dropped to something approaching disgust. But shadow magic? Humph. It's a perversion of our natural state. Those who practice it become changed, corrupted by energies that oppose life itself. Noah found himself thinking of Earth's history. The countless times groups had been declared unnatural or corrupted by those seeking to justify oppression. The language Elena used carried familiar echoes of ideologies he'd studied in school. Changed how exactly? He asked with a careful, neutral tone. Their skin grows pale, their colors change, Elena replied with disgust, as if she were describing a terrible disease. Their eyes change from our unique green color to shades of purple, violet, sometimes black. They become creatures of twilight and shadow, unable to harmonize with the pure light that nourishes us, the normal elves. She moved closer to the window, gazing toward the dark western territories with visible sadness. But the physical changes are nothing compared to what happens to their minds and souls. Shadow magic feeds on negative emotions, hatred, fear, despair. The more they use it, the more it consumes their capacity for joy, love, hope. They become hollow, Elena continued with growing passion. Shells of what elves are meant to be, driven by base instincts and dark desires. That's why they're so violent, so cruel. The corruption has eaten away at everything good within them. Noah noticed how her explanation framed the dark elves not as evil by choice, but as victims of some kind of supernatural corruption. It was an interesting yet dangerous perspective that could justify almost any action taken against them. Is this corruption contagious? He asked, genuinely curious about the magical mechanics she was describing. Although he was asking, it didn't mean that he fully believed in her part of the story. Not directly, but shadow magic can influence the weak-willed. That's why we must maintain separation. Contact with the corrupted ones risks spreading their taint to pure elves. Elena replied with obvious relief. She turned back toward him with earnest conviction. You have to understand, we don't hate them because we want to. We mourn what they've lost, what they've become. Every shadow elf represents a tragedy, a member of our people who fell to corruption. But they can't be saved? Noah pressed, watching her reaction carefully. Elena's expression grew pained. We've tried. For the first year after the division, the Queen attempted purification rituals, healing ceremonies, everything our greatest light mages could devise. Some of the less corrupted ones could be partially restored, she admitted reluctantly. But they never fully recovered. And the deeply corrupted ones, they fought against purification like it was torture. They preferred their darkness to salvation. Chapter 233, Buying Options. Noah nodded thoughtfully, filing away Elena's explanations while reserving judgment until he could hear the other side of this ancient conflict. Her account had the polished quality of propaganda repeated so often that it became accepted truth. Time to see what the Shadow Elves have to say about their supposed corruption, Noah thought as he prepared to conclude Elena's shopping experience and hear Kale's version of events. Elena turned back to the items and examined her storage ring with growing anxiety, her fingers unconsciously moving to bite her nails. It was a nervous habit that betrayed the stress beneath her composed exterior. She had 10,000 golden coins with her currently, along with several enchanted weapons. The coins were standard currency that could be easily replenished through royal treasury allocations, but the weapons represented irreplaceable artifacts. Each weapon here took master enchanters months to create, she thought with growing worry. But these items, they could change everything for our kingdom. Elena bit her nails more intensely as the weight of decision pressed down on her. Her next actions would undoubtedly affect the entire Sunward territories, potentially determining whether her people gained decisive advantages in their centuries-long conflict or missed an opportunity that might never come again. While she would certainly be reimbursed for any golden coins spent in service to the kingdom, weapons remained a precious scarcity. Their magical armaments weren't available in abundance, especially items powerful enough to trade for artifacts that provided permanent attribute enhancements. Every enchanted blade represents months of work by our finest artisans, Elena reminded herself grimly. But if these items are as powerful as they appear, after gritting her teeth in determination, she steeled herself for what might be necessary. For the kingdom of light, she whispered under her breath. For truth to prevail over corruption. Noah smiled imperceptibly as he watched her internal struggle, recognizing the signs of someone calculating high-stakes purchases. While the pseudo-archmages had been fighting outside over his shop, he had taken the opportunity to adjust his pricing structure with Lola's expert guidance. She had visited the Elven Kingdom during her exile, and she knew some things about their economy. The succubus was able to provide invaluable insight about the purchasing power and economic conditions of both Elven territories, allowing him to set prices that would be challenging but not impossible for their respective treasuries. These prices reflect the true value of what I'm offering, Noah thought with satisfaction. Plus, both kingdoms are apparently filthy rich despite their ongoing war. His bread now costs 15 golden coins, a substantial increase from his previous pricing that reflected both the item's rarity and the Elven Kingdom's inflated economy. The iced tea carried a 30 golden coin price tag that positioned it as a premium but accessible enhancement for serious magical practitioners. Reasonable prices for temporary enhancements that could tip the balance of combat, Noah calculated mentally. But the premium items represented where his real profits would emerge. Protein bars, energy drinks, beef jerky, and rice cakes were all priced at 1,000 golden coins each. Figures that would have been astronomical in human kingdoms but fell within the range of what a good portion of elves could afford for permanent attribute improvements. Permanent enhancement items deserve premium pricing, Noah reasoned. These effects last for life, making them essentially priceless for the right customers. The instant coffee and mystical herbal tea commanded the highest prices at 1,500 golden coins each, reflecting their unprecedented effects of doubled comprehension speed, spiritual sight abilities, and immunity to mental attacks. Elena studied the price displays. Her facial expression grew serious as she started weighing the costs and benefits. 15 coins for the healing bread, she murmured, working through the items on the shelf. That's not expensive at all. The effects alone would be worth it for our wounded soldiers. Her gaze shifted to the iced tea pricing. 30 coins for mana enhancement. Our court mages spend more than that on things that have a quarter of the effect. This could definitely prove worthy. 1,000 coins for permanent attribute enhancement, she breathed, her voice carrying the awe of someone who understood exactly what such effects meant for military applications. They are certainly not cheap, but they are still within our budget. And that's exactly the point, Noah thought with satisfaction. Elena's fingers drummed against her storage ring. The instant coffee and herbal tea, 1,500 coins each. That's 3 times the monthly income of average citizens, the average income of skillful craftsmen, and around a quarter of what minor nobles earn a month. It's not bad at all. She paused in her calculations, her mind clearly working through scenarios where such items could provide decisive advantages against shadow elf forces. Doubled comprehension speed for our mages. Elena continued talking to herself, with growing excitement despite the costs. Immunity to mental attacks from shadow corruption. Spiritual sight. If it's what I think it is, it's most definitely worth it. Elena's expression hardened with resolve as she reached her decision. She reached into her storage ring, beginning to count out golden coins while simultaneously evaluating which enchanted weapons might be worth trading for the most valuable enhancement items. I'll need to purchase strategically, focus on items that provide maximum benefit to our kingdom's current needs, Elena muttered with growing confidence. Noah's eyes glinted softly as he spotted the enormous bag of golden coins Elena produced from her storage ring. The sheer size of the leather pouch was impressive, easily the largest single payment he had ever received from any customer across all his adventures. Before he could begin speculating about the exact amount contained within the substantial bag, Elena answered his unspoken question. There are 10,045 golden coins inside this bag. I would like to purchase the following items with it, she announced before she gestured toward his product displays. So she finally made up her mind on the items. Noah thought before turning to see what she had picked. Chapter 234, Tier 5 Item. After the dimensional transportation, the system had automatically restocked all of his items to full capacity. Noah currently possesses 192 loaves of bread, 96 bottles of iced tea, and a complete stock of 12 units for each premium enhancement item. A full inventory worth tens of thousands of golden coins. Noah thought with satisfaction at his robust stock levels. I want to purchase all of your bread loaves and all of your iced tea, Elena declared with the authority of someone making a strategic military purchase that could tip the war in the favor of the Light Elves. Hearing her final choice, Noah chuckled softly before shaking his head with polite but firm refusal. Elena looked at him in shock, her green eyes widening with genuine surprise. Why? What kind of merchant wouldn't want his entire inventory of 2 items sold in a single transaction? Me. I'm that kind of merchant, Noah replied with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Lady Elena, I'm not naive enough to fall for such obvious tactics. I hope you wouldn't attempt to pull such a maneuver on me again. What do you mean? Elena raised an eyebrow, though her expression genuinely suggested she had no idea what he was referencing. Noah's smile faded as he explained his reasoning with diplomatic but unwavering firmness. You're trying to buy all the basic items, leaving none available for the Dark Elves. He had immediately recognized her strategy. Elena could purchase the 192 bread loaves and 96 iced tea bottles for a total of 5,760 golden coins, then spend her remaining funds on higher-tier enhancement items. This approach would strengthen over 200 Light Elf combatants using the cheaper items, while ensuring the Shadow Elves gain no access to even basic enhancements, Noah analyzed. Smart military thinking, but a completely unfair business practice. This would ruin my reputation with the Dark Elves, leaving me to only fund the Light Elves. With my supply, the Light Elves would win the war in no time. It was an intelligent strategy that would provide her kingdom with overwhelming numerical advantages through enhanced troops. But Noah wasn't going to allow such one-sided purchasing that violated his earlier promise of equal opportunities. You are only allowed to buy half of each stock item, Noah declared. You can decide how you want to distribute your purchases within those limits. Elena nodded with a frown creasing her features, clearly recognizing that the human merchant had no intention of favoring either side in their conflict. He's maintaining strict neutrality, she realized with grudging respect. Frustrating from my perspective, but admirable from a business ethics standpoint. At least he isn't merely going after profits like other humans. He has some backbone. I'll buy half your bread and iced tea then, Elena conceded without a fight. Noah nodded, moving toward the shelves to prepare her order. That will be 2,880 coins total. She agreed to the pricing before moving her attention toward the premium enhancement items, her eyes scanning the displays with the intensity of someone making crucial strategic decisions. In the end, Elena skipped past the basic permanent enhancements and focused directly on the most powerful items available. The mystical herbal tea and instant coffee that offered capabilities beyond simple attribute improvements. I want 2 instant coffees and 2 mystical herbal teas, she declared after careful calculation. 6,000 coins for the premium items, Noah calculated. That's a serious investment in top-tier enhancements. The combination would provide her kingdom's elite practitioners with doubled comprehension speed, spiritual sight abilities, and stronger immunity to mental attacks. Advantages that could most certainly be a game-changer in high-level magical combat. Elena was left with 1,165 golden coins after her premium purchases, which she decided to invest in a single rice cake for its permanent intelligence enhancement. Smart allocation, Noah noted approvingly, focusing on the most impactful items rather than spreading her budget too thin. After purchasing the rice cake, Elena had 165 golden coins remaining, insufficient for any additional premium items at the current pricing levels. But rather than accepting the limitation, Elena reached into her storage ring and withdrew an item that immediately piqued Noah's interest. She placed a beautifully crafted amulet on the counter alongside her remaining 165 golden coins, the magical artifact radiating power that was immediately apparent even to casual observation. These combined should total around 1,500 golden coins. "I want another instant coffee," Elena stated with confidence. Noah didn't just take her words for granted. Instead, he approached the amulet to examine its properties, his eyes analyzing the magical item that Elena was offering in trade. Amulet of Protection. Tier 5. Description: a powerful defensive artifact that naturally forms a protective shield around the user when attacked. It can easily defend against attacks below Master Rank and withstand the equivalent of 10 Master Rank attacks before requiring recharging. Estimated price: 1,350 golden coins. Noah's eyes glinted as he absorbed the item's description, recognizing immediately why this amulet represented far more than simple trade value. This item is a complete game-changer, he thought with growing excitement. Such powerful defensive capabilities would be incredible in both worlds. While the amulet would certainly be valuable in this magical realm, Noah's thoughts immediately turned toward its applications in the real world. With such protection, he wouldn't need to worry about bullets, traffic accidents, or any of the countless mundane dangers that could threaten even someone with his enhanced physical attributes. "My body might be magically enhanced, but I'm still not certain about surviving gunshots or explosions," Noah realized. This amulet could provide security that no amount of physical training could match for the next weeks. He knew that at some point, these dangers that he spoke of would not worry him anymore, but for now, these dangers were still within the realm of potentially killing him. The defensive artifact represented exactly the kind of insurance he needed for operating safely across multiple dimensions where different threats required different protections. "This is acceptable," Noah agreed, his satisfaction evident as he carefully examined the amulet's craftsmanship and magical power. The trade would give Elena her desired third instant coffee while providing Noah with a defensive tool that could prove invaluable. Chapter 235. Kale's Turn. After giving her the items, Elena carefully placed everything in her dimensional storage before turning to address a concern that had been weighing on her mind. "Can I come back to buy more items? Or will the Dark Elves have the opportunity to purchase even my allocated portions?" She paused, organizing her thoughts. "You did say that we both have equal opportunity, so that means we will both have the opportunity to buy half of each product. But I don't have enough resources with me currently to purchase my full allocation. So I want to return later to complete my transactions." Noah looked at her thoughtfully before responding. "You naturally have the ability to return. Entering my shop first shouldn't be a liability. You won the rock-paper-scissors contest fairly," he confirmed with courtesy. Elena's expression brightened with relief at his confirmation, though Noah's next words carried a more serious undertone. "Also, I want no fighting near my establishment within the vicinity of 1 kilometer. If any of you engage in combat near my shop, you can say goodbye to buying my products again. And yes, it doesn't matter who started the fight first, because I will warn both of you." His voice carried absolute authority that made Elena recognize the non-negotiable nature of his terms. "This is my stock for the day, and I will have this stock level available daily," Noah continued with emphasis that made Elena's eyes widen. "So you can decide whether you want our cooperation to end prematurely or to thrive for the long term. If you want to fight each other, fight somewhere else. I don't want to hear constant warfare near my shop. My child sleeps frequently, and your fighting will disrupt his rest." He gestured toward Leo, who roared with obvious happiness at his father's thoughtful consideration for his comfort. Elena stood frozen in complete shock as the full implications of Noah's words registered in her mind. Daily stock of these items? The revelation hit her like a thunderbolt. This wasn't a one-time opportunity to acquire rare magical artifacts. This was access to a renewable source of enhancement items that could reshape the balance of power in their conflict permanently. She most definitely couldn't afford to anger such a powerful being who controlled access to what might be unlimited quantities of war-changing magical items. Her green eyes glinted with strategic calculations as she processed how daily access to these products could transform the Sunward Territory's capabilities over time. I understand completely. The 1-kilometer restriction will be communicated to all our forces immediately. Thank you for clarifying the ongoing nature of your business operations, Elena said with respectful acknowledgement. Elena nodded formally before departing the shop, her mind already racing with the news that she was about to convey to her superiors. After Elena left the establishment, Kale emerged from the eastern approach with obvious satisfaction radiating from his smirk. The Shadow Mage had returned from his border meeting well-equipped for serious negotiations. He carried multiple storage rings and pouches that suggested substantial financial backing from the Shadowvale Dominion's treasury, along with several cases that likely contained powerful magical artifacts for potential trade arrangements. Kale smirked with confidence as he approached the shop entrance, clearly pleased with his preparation time and the resources now at his disposal. Elena spotted him immediately, and rather than risk any confrontation that might violate Noah's proximity rules, she departed rapidly toward her own territorial boundaries. Several figures materialized from concealed positions near the Light Elf territories, archmages whose presence had been hidden through advanced magical concealment during Elena's shopping expedition. These elite practitioners formed a protective escort around Elena as she traveled back to report her discoveries to Queen Seraphina and the royal court. High Mage Elena, called one of the escorting archmages as they moved away from the neutral zone. What did you discover about the mysterious establishment? More than we dared hope, Elena replied with barely contained excitement. This changes everything for our kingdom. We need to convene an emergency council session immediately. The group of light elves disappeared toward their eastern territories with urgent purpose, clearly understanding that Elena's discoveries required immediate strategic planning at the highest levels of their government. Meanwhile, Kale paused at the shop entrance to observe their departure before pushing open the door with confidence that came from superior preparation and backing. Good afternoon, shopkeeper Noah. I believe we have business to conduct, Kale announced as he entered, his violet eyes immediately scanning the interior with appreciation for the magical energies that permeated the space. His smirk widened as he noted the depleted inventory levels that confirmed Elena had made substantial purchases. Although he wasn't sure how much she had bought, he hoped that the human before him had kept his end of the deal. Noah greeted him with courtesy, while Lola maintained her position behind the counter, her archmage-level presence ensuring that protocols would be maintained regardless of any lingering tensions from the earlier magical duel. Welcome to my shop, Noah said with the same neutral professionalism he'd shown Elena. I trust your preparations went well during the waiting period. Indeed they did, Kale replied with satisfaction. I believe you'll find that the Shadowvale Dominion is prepared to conduct business on a scale that reflects the true value of what you're offering. Kale's confidence was evident as he surveyed the available products. His eyes widened in shock and disbelief as he read through the descriptions of the items, one by one. The stage was set for negotiations that would determine how the Shadow Elves would utilize their access to enhancement items that could reshape the balance of power in their centuries-long conflict. Leo watched from his corner with curious interest, his senses detecting the different magical signature that Kale carried compared to Elena's light-based energies. The afternoon's second major transaction was about to begin, with implications that would ripple through both elven kingdoms for generations to come. All right, let's get a few things straight. Before you purchase anything, you need to know that you are able to currently buy all of the bread and iced tea available. Kale's eyes widened in excitement at the thought. Seeing that, Noah said, before you get too excited, you are only able to do that with these items because Elena had already purchased half of them. Both of you would be able to purchase only half the stock of each item. Noah then told him about the quantity of each item he could buy. Kale's eyes followed as Noah explained. After hearing everything from Noah, Kale couldn't help but feel bitter. He had thought that he would be able to take advantage of the situation by getting some financial backing to buy the items that Elena couldn't buy. Kale tried to fight back against Noah, but Noah stayed firm on his decision, not backing an inch. Without much power to do anything about it, Cale sighed before he decided to buy half of everything available. After the purchase, Cale was satisfied that he would be able to buy everything available without having the need to use any magical item to trade for them. Cale's total purchase resulted in a sum that made Noah so happy that he almost broke his professional attitude. Chapter 236. Profits. New daily income. Noah stared at the multiple flashing notifications that cascaded across his retina in rapid succession, each one announcing another massive increase to his daily income streams. New daily income stream. New daily income stream. New daily income stream. New daily income stream. Instant coffee. Amulet of protection plus 165 golden coins established. The final result made Noah completely satisfied with the system's choice of business location. He praised the system's strategic placement several times internally, recognizing that landing in a war-torn but wealthy, divided kingdom had created optimal conditions for premium sales. Before Cale departed, Noah reminded him of the same territorial rule he had established with Elena minutes earlier. Remember, no fighting within 1 kilometer of my shop. Violation of this rule means permanent exclusion from future transactions, Noah emphasized with firmness. Cale nodded with understanding before leaving, clearly eager to report his acquisitions to his superiors and begin implementing whatever strategic plans the Shadow Elves had developed. Noah could tell that Cale was in a significant hurry to depart, so he didn't force additional conversation and decided to focus on processing the remarkable business success he'd just achieved. With his dramatically increased income and the upgrades that had occurred, Noah decided he could ask Cale about the Dark Elves' perspective on their conflict during future visits. The Shadow Mage's urgency suggested important developments were unfolding that required his immediate attention. The sum Noah had collected from Elena totaled 11,395 golden coins, which represented a substantial transaction by any previous standards. But Cale's purchase had been something else entirely. Unlike Elena, who had focused on specific items while skipping others due to her insufficient purchasing power, Cale had arrived with sufficient financial backing to purchase everything available within his allocated limits. The Shadow Mage had come prepared for large transactions, demonstrating the Shadowvale Dominion's commitment to gaining every possible advantage from this unexpected opportunity. Cale's total expenditure reached 44,880 golden coins. It was a staggering sum that made Noah's heart race with excitement. His heart was beating so rapidly that he could hear it clearly now that Cale had departed and silence had returned to the shop. The magnitude of wealth that had just changed hands exceeded his wildest projections for the new location. It had only been a few hours, yet the results were nothing short of outstanding. Of course, he had Lola to thank, too. She had good information on the purchasing power of both kingdoms. This meant that when Elena returned with sufficient resources to match Cale's comprehensive purchasing, she would need an additional 33,485 golden coins to buy everything he had acquired. Noah didn't worry about future earnings and decided to examine his current financial transformation instead. From her place behind the counter, Lola felt the rest of the world fade into a muted blur. The chatter of the two new customers, the clinking of golden coins or the soft sounds of the floorboards beneath their steps, all of it receded until there was only him. Noah's heartfelt smile, which was unguarded and warm, held her attention as if nothing else in the room mattered. It wasn't the day's sales that stirred the quiet curve of her own lips. It was the light in his eyes. Each time it flickered toward her, a gentle heat bloomed in her chest, spreading until it reached the tips of her fingers. She found herself holding her breath, afraid that if she exhaled, the moment might slip away. His happiness wrapped around her like sunlight, and she let it sink in, cherishing the thought that her joy had become inseparably bound to his. Host: Noah Carter. Age 28. Shop Level 2. Daily revenue: $736,500, or equivalent. Current assets: $7,216,840. Shop points: 22,890. Attributes: Strength, 60. Vitality, 60. Intelligence, 60. Agility, 60. Skills: swordsmanship, level 11. Mana control, level 10. Aura, level 10. Wind manipulation, level 10. Body tempering, level 10. Surviving on ramen, level 3. Cooking, level 3. Finance, level 3. Gaming, level 3. Programming, level 2. Noah's daily income had increased by nearly 50% in a single afternoon, selling items inside the neutral zone of the Elven Kingdom. The bread and iced tea remained at their established $5,000 daily revenue, providing a steady baseline income. It didn't change as the total income he had currently was 45 golden coins, which was less than the current daily income. The protein bar provided $130,000 daily income, a figure that Prince Malfa's and Lola's auction manipulation had established during his time in the Demon Kingdom. That particular pricing had proven remarkably durable across different customer bases. He hadn't increased the price to that number solely because that was a one-time auction price. Noah was already thinking of creating an auction for his next items. This time, there was no need for him to alter the prices manually. The Dark Elves and Light Elves would both fight for it themselves. Just thinking about it made him excited about the possibilities. Just how far would they both go for the new items? Regarding the other premium items, energy drinks, beef jerky, and rice cakes, each generated $100,000 in daily income, representing the standard pricing for permanent attribute enhancement items that provided lasting benefits to consumers. The mystical herbal tea produced $150,000 daily, reflecting its unique combination of toxin purification, spiritual sight abilities, and permanent vitality enhancement that made it particularly valuable to higher-end magical practitioners. The instant coffee had been traded for Elena's amulet of protection plus 165 golden coins, creating a daily income stream that provided both monetary value and a crucial defensive artifact that would prove invaluable for his personal safety. Noah already had thoughts of giving these items to his father and close family. This way, Noah would be assured of their safety. So daily, Noah would now receive $618,000 alongside an amulet of protection. Wealth that transformed him from a nouveau riche to someone approaching genuine financial power. He was approaching the higher class end of society. The numbers were so substantial that everything had exceeded his most optimistic projections. Noah realized he would need to celebrate properly once he returned to Earth after processing this remarkable business triumph. Over $7 million in liquid assets that would soon increase by an additional $3 million once Elena returned, plus daily income exceeding $750,000, represented financial security that most people couldn't achieve in multiple lifetimes. But beyond the monetary success, Noah felt genuine satisfaction at having maintained strict neutrality while providing both elven factions with equal opportunities to enhance their capabilities. The diplomatic challenge of serving two warring kingdoms without favoring either side had been successfully navigated, establishing his shop as a neutral ground where even enemies could conduct business peacefully. His shop points had also increased substantially, bringing him closer to various future upgrade thresholds that would unlock new products and capabilities for future expansion. As for his various automakers, they had all increased in number. But the most significant one was the iced tea maker that had leveled up. Auto Iced Tea Maker, Level 58/H are max stock 19237/1000 EXP. Auto Baker, Level 516/H are max stock 192,657/1000 EXP. Chapter 237, Queen Seraphina. Inside the Elven Kingdom, Elena wasn't in a rush to return immediately and purchase the remaining items. She had a far more important duty first, explaining the shocking discoveries to Queen Seraphina and the Magical Council about this unprecedented opportunity that had literally materialized on their borders. The throne room of Lumenspire was a magnificent testament to light elf artistry, with large pillars that channeled pure sunlight into every corner of the vast chamber. Images and golden portraits depicting their kingdom's glorious history adorned the walls, while enchanted light sources created an atmosphere of radiance that reinforced their cultural superiority compared to other nations. Elena knelt before the golden throne with proper reverence, her voice carrying the excitement of someone reporting a potential game-changing development. "Your Majesty," The mysterious structure that appeared in the neutral zone is a commercial establishment operated by a human merchant and an archmage-level succubus. Queen Seraphina Goldleaf listened from her throne with regal attention, her eyes gleaming with interest as Elena showed, and described the impossible variety of enhancement items available for purchase. "Permanent attribute increases, Your Majesty," Elena emphasized, her voice barely hiding the excitement she felt. "Items that grant new magical abilities instantly. Products that provide advantages we've only dreamed of achieving through decades of extensive research and years of training." The Queen's expression grew more focused as Elena detailed each category of enhancement item, their effects, and the pricing structure that made them accessible to royal treasuries despite their substantial costs. "The merchant maintains strict neutrality," Elena continued with honesty. "He refuses to favor either kingdom and insists on equal purchasing opportunities for both light and shadow elves." After Elena finished her comprehensive report, Queen Seraphina nodded with obvious satisfaction at her subordinate's thorough intelligence gathering. "Good job, Elena. You've done exceptionally well," the Queen declared with royal approval that carried significant weight within their hierarchy. She waved her hand casually, and numerous large pouches of golden coins materialized on the marble floor before the throne. "Wealth drawn from the royal treasury's reserves." Thud. "Since you are familiar with the human shopkeeper and have already established a working relationship, you shall be the one to conduct all future purchases with him from now on," Seraphina announced with the tone of someone bestowing significant honor. Elena's face lit up with genuine happiness at this appointment. Being chosen as the Queen's personal representative for such important transactions was a tremendous honor that elevated her status within the court hierarchy. "As you wish, Your Highness," Elena replied with grateful respect, bowing deeply to acknowledge the trust being placed in her. Queen Seraphina's eyes glinted with satisfaction as she contemplated the implications of accessing such enhancement items. She had already made someone try one of the items as Elena spoke. The item that was called rice cake tested exceptionally well, and its effects were exactly as stated. The reason she had made someone try it first was a precaution. As the Queen of the Light Elves, with the Shadow Elves as enemies, she hadn't survived for so long without a reason. Despite her innocent look, she was incredibly cunning and smart. "With these resources, our pure-blooded Light Elves will finally have the tools needed to achieve our rightful destiny," she said with growing intensity. "Even if those shadow-corrupted wretches gain access to the same items, our inherent superiority and higher potential mean we will progress faster and achieve greater results." Her voice dropped to a dangerous whisper filled with years of accumulated hatred. "Then, I shall crush Darien Nightshade under my foot and trample on his corrupted body. The age of shadow corruption ends now." Prince Adrian Silveroak stood beside his aunt's throne with a carefully maintained expression of calmness, his position as commander of the royal guard requiring his presence during such important discussions. Inwardly, however, the prince sighed with the weariness of someone who had grown tired of the endless conflict. Despite his archmage-level power and high status within the kingdom, Adrian was one of the very few nobles who secretly longed for this devastating war to end. More weapons for an endless conflict, Adrian thought with hidden sadness. These enhancement items will only escalate the violence rather than bring the peace our people desperately need. He maintained perfect composure while harboring thoughts that would be considered treasonous if spoken aloud. The prince genuinely believed that reunification through acceptance rather than conquest offered the only path to lasting stability. Both kingdoms bleed while the leadership pursues vengeance for decade-old grievances, Adrian reflected privately. These enhancement items represent an opportunity for overwhelming victory rather than reconciliation. But his position demanded loyalty to the crown, regardless of his personal convictions about the futility of their ongoing conflict. Unless Adrian believed that a plan would definitely work, he would not express his beliefs in peace. It would simply result in his death. Even if the queen was his maternal aunt, when it came to such an important matter, she became really ruthless and wouldn't mind doing so. Queen Seraphina turned her attention back to Elena with decisive authority that brooked no delay or hesitation. "Head out to the human shopkeeper immediately and purchase the remaining items within our allocated limits," she commanded with royal firmness. Ask him about his shop's operational schedule and any other relevant information about his business practices. The Queen's strategic mind was already working through the logistics of maintaining regular access to such valuable enhancement items. In war, information was power, and they had no information on that human shopkeeper. So gathering information, no matter how small or minute it sounded, would be helpful in the long run. Whether it's developing a relationship that could possibly make him lean towards them or something else, either way it was beneficial. Once you return, inform me immediately about any changes, new developments, or additional information you gather during the transaction, Serafina continued. Elena nodded. Yes, Your Highness. I shall depart immediately and complete the mission according to your specifications. Chapter 238. Elena's Return. Elena then stored the large coin pouches in her storage ring and prepared to set out for her return journey to Noah's shop. Prince Adrian watched everything with concealed concern about how these enhancement items would affect the balance of power between their warring kingdoms. More fuel for the fire, he thought grimly while maintaining his loyal facade. When will this endless cycle of vengeance finally consume us all? The throne room buzzed with quiet energy as Elena departed on her mission to secure advantages that Queen Serafina believed would finally tip their centuries-long conflict in favor of the Light Elves' righteous cause. The stage was set for escalation rather than resolution, with enhancement items serving as catalysts for renewed hostilities rather than opportunities for peace. Elena arrived at the shop with substantially more financial backing this time, her storage ring now containing part of the considerable wealth of the Sunward Territory's royal treasury. Queen Serafina had provided her with enough resources to purchase everything within her allocated limits, ensuring no advantage would be left unclaimed. Multiple archmages from the Light Elf Kingdom had escorted her safely to the neutral zone, their powerful magical presence serving as both protection and deterrent against potential Shadow Elf ambushes. While there was supposed to be a treaty of peace within the 1-kilometer vicinity of Noah's shop, significant distance remained before reaching that protected boundary. The Light Elves couldn't be certain that the Shadow Elves wouldn't attempt to use their newly acquired enhancement items to launch immediate attacks, potentially testing the merchant's territorial rules or seeking to prevent Elena from completing her mission. Maintain perimeter watch until High Mage Elena completes her transactions, commanded the lead Archmage as they approached the neutral zone's edge. Any Shadow Elf movement toward the shop area should be reported immediately. They arrived safely at the protected boundary, the invisible line that marked Noah's territorial restrictions, clearly understood by both factions despite its lack of physical markers. After escorting Elena to the safety zone, the Archmages withdrew to strategic positions where they could observe the shop without violating the merchant's proximity rules. They would wait patiently for her to finish her business before providing an escort back to their territory. From their distant positions near the western border, Dark Elves watched the Light Elf escort operation with knowing smirks on their faces. Several Shadow Elf scouts had been monitoring the situation since Elena's first visit, anticipating exactly this kind of return mission. "Look at them," chuckled a Shadow Elf observer to his companion. "So scared that they need multiple Archmages just to escort one shopping trip." "Can't blame them," his partner replied with dark amusement. "It's in their blood to be fearful of us, heh?" The Shadow Elves maintained their surveillance while carefully respecting the territorial boundaries that protected the mysterious merchant's establishment. They wouldn't attack or take any action just yet. Until Lord Regent Darien spoke, nobody would move from their post. Elena entered the shop with confident purpose, her previous experience making the process much more efficient than her initial visit. "I've returned with additional resources to complete my kingdom's acquisitions," Elena announced with diplomatic formality, producing multiple heavy pouches from her dimensional storage. Noah welcomed her back with courtesy, his glinting softly, noting the money she now possessed. "Of course, you're able to purchase the remaining half of everything as we discussed." Elena then took the items left in the inventory. "I'll take the 6 protein bars for permanent strength enhancement," she declared, beginning her comprehensive acquisition. 6 packages of beef jerky for vitality improvements, 6 energy drinks for agility augmentation, and the 5 rice cakes for intelligence boosts. The protein bars, beef jerky, energy drinks, and rice cakes represented 23 premium items at 1,000 golden coins each, totaling 23,000 coins for permanent attribute enhancements that would create a cadre of peak light elf warriors. Additionally, I want 4 mystical herbal teas. Elena continued with growing confidence. The toxin purification and spiritual sight abilities will be invaluable for our most elite practitioners. The mystical teas added another 6,000 coins to her total at 1,500 coins each, bringing specialized capabilities that could provide decisive advantages in magical combat situations. Finally, the last 3 instant coffees. Elena concluded her order. The instant coffees contributed an additional 4,500 coins at 1,500 each, completing her purchase of everything available within the shop. Elena's total expenditure reached exactly 33,500 golden coins, a staggering sum that represented a small portion of the Light Elf Royal Treasury, but provided enhancement items that could permanently reshape their power. As Noah processed her massive transaction, Elena took the opportunity to gather additional intelligence that Queen Seraphina had specifically requested. "I have some questions about your shop's operational schedule," Elena said with diplomatic curiosity. "When do you typically restock these items? Are there specific times when new inventory becomes available?" Noah appreciated her direct approach to gathering business intelligence rather than attempting subtle manipulation or deception. "I restock my shop completely every 24 hours, he explained. "The same quantities of everything become available each day, maintaining consistent supply levels for regular customers." "Are there any special requirements for maintaining purchasing privileges?" she asked with practical concern. "Specific protocols we should follow to ensure continued access?" "Simply respect the territorial boundaries and avoid combat within a 1-kilometer radius," Noah replied with diplomatic firmness. "As long as both factions honor those restrictions, business can continue indefinitely." Elena nodded with understanding, filing away every detail for her report to Queen Seraphina and the Strategic Planning Council. After completing her purchase and gathering the requested intelligence, Elena carefully stored her items in dimensional space before preparing to depart. "Thank you for your continued business," Noah said with professional courtesy. "I look forward to serving both kingdoms' enhancement needs in the future." Elena left the shop with satisfaction radiating from her bearing, immediately met by her waiting Archmage escorts who had maintained vigilant watch throughout her extended transaction. The Light Elf escort formation departed efficiently toward their territorial boundaries. From their distant observation posts, Shadow Elf scouts watched the successful completion of Elena's mission with mixed emotions, recognizing that their enemies had just leveled the playing ground. They had wanted to take advantage of their previous power-ups, but no order had come down. So all they could do was wait. Chapter 239, 10 million. Host, Noah Carter. Age 28. Shop level 2. Daily revenue, $736,500, or equivalent. Current assets, $10,566,840. Shop points, 23,190. Attributes, strength, 60, vitality, 60, intelligence, 60, agility, 60. Skills. Level 11, Smiley Face Swordsmanship. Level 10, Smiley Face Mana Control, Aura, Wind Manipulation, Body Tempering. Level 3, Smiley Face Surviving on Ramen, Cooking, Finance, Gaming. Level 2, Smiley Face Programming. With his daily assets crossing the $10 million mark in a single afternoon, Noah felt genuine delight coursing through his body. He had achieved a financial milestone that he'd kept at the back of his mind for weeks, never quite believing it would happen so quickly. The transformation from struggling debtor to multimillionaire entrepreneur was something that he thought he had gotten used to, but every time he crosses a large milestone like this, it still feels surreal. Where would he be if he hadn't gotten the system? Would he still be getting chased by debt collectors, surviving on ramen cups, and watching his dad's health slowly wither away? Noah let out a thankful sigh, the sound breaking the silence in the shop. Lola watched him from behind the counter with obvious amusement at his satisfied expression, her ruby eyes sparkling with warmth, witnessing his happiness. "It seems like you're really pleased with this new location," she said with her teasing tone. "Everything is going so well. You're selling everything at the prices these items truly deserve. You are really a kind soul, helping your fellow humans evolve their lifestyles and powers. I have seen you save hundreds of lives in the short time we were together." Noah turned to face her with a bitter smile. "She doesn't know that it's not exactly charity. I'm really not a good person. I'm just a regular guy trying to help out while still focusing on my benefits. Whilst a small part of me wanted to help them improve their kingdom, the one where my friends lived, a large part of me also did it for the progress. Whether it's the shop points, the money, or the automaker EXP. The thoughts made me think deeper. I'm really not as good as people around me thought. I could help out much more, but sigh. This is human nature. It's not necessarily wrong for me to want more. Or is it?" Noah dispelled the thoughts with a headshake before saying, "Yes, I'm extremely pleased with how everything is developing, and a significant part of the success is due to your knowledge about proper pricing strategies in this place." Lola shook her head with modest dismissal of his praise. "To be honest, you would have figured out appropriate pricing eventually. It's not particularly difficult to guess that elven kingdoms possess substantial wealth reserves." Noah somewhat disagreed with her assessment, understanding how easily he could have made costly pricing errors without her guidance. "That's not entirely accurate," he corrected with honest self-reflection. "In fact, with warfare raging between them, I would have instinctively lowered prices, assuming that prolonged conflict had depleted their financial reserves. Your insight about wartime economics in magical kingdoms was helpful. Nonetheless, I could have missed significant revenue opportunities without your advice. Yes, I would have figured it out eventually, but I would have lost thousands of golden coins by then," Noah continued with sincere gratitude. Lola smiled at his praise while maintaining her humility about her contributions to their business partnership. After reflecting on their current success, Noah's thoughts turned toward potential security concerns that might arise from their prominent position between two hostile factions. "I want you to try and gather information when possible," Noah instructed with growing seriousness. "Listen to the subtle things that the light elves or dark elves say, observe their behavior, pick up on any intelligence about their intentions or strategic plans." Lola nodded with understanding. "Also," Noah added with protective concern, "if either faction attempts anything threatening or problematic, you're fully authorized to defend yourself and the shop. Don't hesitate to use whatever force necessary." "Of course," Lola replied with confidence that spoke to her combat capabilities. "I won't allow anyone to threaten your shop or Leo's safety." Noah felt warmth flush his heart at her words. Then, Noah turned toward his system interface with a practical question about shop security protocols. "System, does Lola have the authority to remove customers from the shop if they become problematic?" "Affirmative. As an authorized employee, Lola possesses ejection privileges when granted by the shop owner. This authority extends to physical removal of disruptive or aggressive customers and enforcement of shop policies." "Good," Noah said with satisfaction. "Lola, I'm officially granting you full authority to eject any customers who cause problems, violate our policies, or threaten the neutral status of our establishment. You would not need to use your normal power. Simply think about it, and they will automatically be kicked from the shop." Lola's eyes glinted slightly as a memory resurfaced. She remembered when she had pushed her teasing too much, and it led to her own self being kicked out of the shop by Noah. At that time, she had pondered on how a human with seemingly novice power was able to remove her from the shop before she could even realize. The authorization would provide an additional layer of security while ensuring that no harm befell Lola, Leo, or the shop. It would also show both kingdoms that he wasn't someone to mess with. Before leaving, Noah's expression grew serious before saying, "I don't need to remind you, but be careful. Both kingdoms are at war, and they are very desperate for advantages. They might make stupid decisions whether they try to get in your good books or do something else. Always stay fair no matter what. Half of the stock for them after deducting your daily salary and an equal portion for myself." Lola nodded at his words, with an equally serious expression on her face. You don't have to worry about this. I'm simply here to sell. I have no reason to take sides. I'm just here to follow my boss's orders. Seeing her serious expression and teasing tone, Noah couldn't help but shake his head in disbelief. You never fail to throw one out of nowhere, do you? Lola pouted, her cheeks puffing. Nowhere? This is coming straight from my pure, maiden heart. You are so mean. Chapter 240. Peaceful. Returning to Earth, Noah found himself back in his luxurious Japanese-style room at the mountain resort. He settled onto the comfortable cushions, feeling satisfied with everything around him. Noah decided to catch up with family while he had some quiet time. He called his father to check on Alan and share some carefully edited updates about his own adventures. Hey, Dad, how are you feeling today? Noah, I'm doing great, son. Did you eat well? Is the food good at the competition you are participating in? Yes, Dad. I ate already and the food is good here. I didn't move countries, Dad. I'm just a few hours away. Noah then heard a laugh coming from the other side of the phone. Haha, that's true. When are you participating? Is it today or another day? It's actually tomorrow, Noah replied before continuing. So I might become busy tomorrow. Just in case I don't respond immediately, know that I'm fine. It's just a tournament issue. All right, son. I'm proud of you. It's good for you. Getting out and expanding your horizons. Your mother would be proud of how far you've come. After a warm conversation with his father, Noah's phone buzzed with an incoming call from Ethan. His cousin's timing was typically enthusiastic but unfortunately poorly coordinated with Noah's current location. Noah, wanna hop on for some gaming? I've been practicing those techniques you taught me, and my team captain is amazed at my improvement. Also, I kind of taught my team the things you taught me. Hope you don't mind. Oh, don't worry about it, you can teach them. Teaching helps affirming skills and knowledge. Also, I'd love to play, but I'm not at home right now, Noah explained. I'm attending a tournament currently, and there is no gaming setup available. A tournament? That's awesome. What kind of competition? Ethan asked, his tone rising softly in excitement. Martial arts, Noah replied simply, not wanting to elaborate on swordsmanship tournaments that might raise additional questions about safety or legitimacy. Swordsmanship competitions require deep control management. Any injury inflicted could result in the permanent damage of the competitors or even their death. It was no joke to host such competitions. Thankful, Ethan understood and didn't pry further into Noah's activities, respecting his cousin's privacy with maturity. All right, stay safe out there and good luck with the competition, Ethan said with a supportive voice. We'll game when you get back. Absolutely. Take care of yourself and keep practicing those moves. As Noah was about to put his phone down after ending the call, a notification chimed indicating a new text message. The sender's name made him pause with surprise. Amelia, the persistent girl from the mall who had refused to take no for an answer. Amelia, hey Noah, hope you're having a good day. I told you that you wouldn't regret giving me your number. Noah stared at the message for a moment, remembering their brief encounter and her confident prediction that he wouldn't regret the exchange. Her timing was interesting, considering everything that had happened since their mall meeting. He found himself curious about what she might want to discuss, especially given her bold approach to their initial interaction. The message carried the same confident energy that had convinced him to share his contact information despite his usual reluctance to engage with persistent strangers. She certainly doesn't lack confidence, Noah thought with amusement as he considered whether to respond to her unexpected message or not. The evening was still young. Amelia's text added an unexpected element to his already eventful day. Wonder what she has in mind, Noah mused. Noah decided to ignore Amelia's message for now, setting his phone aside without crafting a response. The persistent girl from the mall would have to wait. He had more immediate concerns to focus on, and encouraging her pursuit didn't align with his current priorities. Staring out through the traditional sliding window at the dark sky above, Noah felt drawn to the natural beauty surrounding the mountain resort. The white full moon hung like a luminous pearl against the star-scattered darkness, creating an almost mystical atmosphere that seemed perfect for quiet contemplation. During his earlier exploration of the facility, he had spotted a serene lake with comfortable stone seating and winding pathways that invited peaceful evening walks. The combination of moonlight reflecting off still water and the pure mountain air promised exactly the kind of tranquil experience he needed after his business transactions. Without further hesitation, Noah stood up from his cushioned seating area and silently left his room, sliding the traditional door closed behind him with practiced quiet. As he passed by Ichigo's adjacent quarters, Noah did not hear any sounds of activity. The complete silence from his neighbor's room suggested that the enthusiastic young swordsman was either already asleep or had ventured out for his own evening activities. Probably getting his rest before tomorrow's competition, Noah thought with a mental shrug before continuing toward the exit. The traditional corridor stretched before him, lit by paper lanterns that cast warm, flickering shadows against the wooden walls. Other participants' rooms remained equally quiet, suggesting that most competitors were either resting or engaged in private preparation routines. Outside, Noah made his way along the carefully maintained stone pathway that wound through the resort's landscaped grounds toward the lake he'd observed earlier. The mountain air was crisp and clean, carrying scents of pine and something indefinably pure that urban environments never provided. His phone buzzed again in his pocket. Another message from Amelia's persistent pursuit. Noah glanced at the notification briefly before placing his phone back in his pocket without reading the content. Whatever the mall girl wanted to discuss could wait. Let's see how persistent she is. Hopefully she gives up soon, he decided, focusing instead on the peaceful evening. The pathway curved gently through traditional Japanese gardens, leading him toward the moonlit lake where he could enjoy solitude and natural beauty. As he walked through the pathway, Noah couldn't help but ponder upon the tournament coming up the next day. The stone path continued ahead, illuminated by moonlight and the promise of peaceful contemplation beside still waters that reflected the star-filled sky above.